Let's bow our heads for prayer. Our most precious Heavenly Father, be with us tonight as we do the business for the town and for the people that we're representing. And be with us and guide us in the things that we should do and the things that we are planning to talk about tonight. Give us the help that we need, and be with the people that cannot be here tonight for whatever reason. Lay your hand on them to get them so that they can get. So be with us, guide us, and protect us. In God's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I made that motion.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We go into public comments. Introduction of a new employee. Kim.
I am happy to announce that we have hired a building inspector. He started June the 3rd. His name is James Cootie. He is already certified probationary level 2 in inspections, so he can hit the ground running with all of our residential inspections, and we are very, very excited to have him. He's already starting to scout the town and pick up on some code enforcement issues as well as some building inspection issues that maybe haven't that hadn't got permits for. So he's hit the ground running, and I'll let him say hello.
Good evening. As Kim said, my name is James. A quick background, born in Texas, but raised in the Carolinas most of my life, but still call Texas home. So Cowboys fans are definitely welcome conversation there. 11 years in the Marine Corps and some other years in other government organizations throughout. Settled with my wife. She's in media, and it's kind of taken us back and forth between here and Texas, Carolinas and Texas, and we're back in this area. We settled in Pender County, where I went to work for the county almost 2 years as an inspector. And opportunity arose to get her closer to Raleigh, and that's what brought us here to Benson. So that's kind of the nickel tour of who I am, and I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Welcome.
Thanks, sir.
Glad to have you.
Any Cowboys fans, though? Seriously? No?
Max is saying no. Thank you.
My phone is always, I guess, Kim and the mayor have, or the mayor will have my personal number, so if there's any issues, the town phone usually kind of goes to vibrate at 6, but the personal phone is definitely 24/7. So.
Very good. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, James.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any individual that wishing to address the board asked to provide their name and address for the record to come forward. Anyone that wants to address the board, come forward.
Mayor, before you get started, I would certainly like to welcome the members that are here tonight from the town. I thank you and Kim for getting this in place. This is something I asked for because my decision is going to be based primarily on your opinion. So thank you for coming.
We close the public comments. Department reports. The department reports that were handed in, does anybody have any questions of the department heads? Public hearing. First public hearing is going to be RZ 2024-05. Calling Paul Limber to come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. This evening, I'm going to be presenting a rezoning in the first hearing, and it's on 203 West Main Street. And the location of the property is on Main, and it's a 2.24 acres, about a quarter of an acre panel parcel located in his R6. To the rear, and its B2 is the actual parcel, and the request for the rezoning is for the R6 parcel. And the petitioner's information is there. On the current zoning map I mentioned was R6, which is where it's labeled as site with a blue dot in it. And the darker green surrounding that is B2 zoning. And it's hard to see over there on the future land use map, but it's highlighted in red, but to represent that, the corresponding red on the zoning map. When in considering this, the potential rezonings that doesn't want to change. Oh, I went too far. There we go. The potential uses in this zoning district, we have broken them down between residential, civil, and commercial uses. And these are all pretty typical of any B2 district in town. A lot of the commercial uses have to be special use permitted if they're proposed to be used. The approval criteria is the standard 7 items that you consider on any rezoning, and but it is consistent with the comprehensive land use plan, and it is consistent with the adjacent zonings. And those are the 2 items that you should consider primarily in your decision-making process. The statement of consistency, I'll read that for you. Prior to adopting or rejecting any zoning amendment, the governing board shall adopt a statement describing whether its action is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan and explain why the board considers the action taken to be reasonable and in the public interest. The planning board shall advise and comment on whether the proposed amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan that has been adopted and any other official plan, which is basically the zoning map that is applicable. And the planning board did review that at their last visit, their last meeting, and made a favorable statement that it should is a candidate for rezoning. The planning board has provided written recommendation to the governing board that addresses plan consistency and other matters as deemed appropriate by the planning board. But a comment by the planning board that a proposed rezoning is consistent or inconsistent with a comprehensive plan shall not preclude consideration for approval or denial of the proposed zoning by the governing board. Still not going to work. Okay, these are the approval criteria that I had mentioned that you should consider as you're going through this rezoning. And this is this consistency statement which I just read. And this is the recommended motion of approval or disapproval. Staff, like the planning board, is in favor of this rezoning, and they find it to be appropriate rezoning for property. With that being said, I stand open for any questions.
Does anybody on the board have questions? I open the public hearing. I ask the person that wants to present the plans to come forward. Give your name. and
Good
address.
evening. My name is Vic. The full name is Varinder Bhardwaj. I'm the actual applicant for this application. So
Okay.
before we pursue this application, I talked to planning department and the town manager. So B6, R6 to B6 is the best way we can go with for rezoning. So rest is your opinion, whatever you decide. So I will
So-
go with that.
So this is right behind your store.
This is right behind the Valero store. There's an empty lot that's around 2.25 acres.
Okay.
So, from my opinion, it's not a good idea to make any house or any residential complex beside the gas tanks or gas stations. So if we go with some other option, so that will be much better.
Any of y'all have questions?
Have you had any opposition to this?
No, ma'am.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll ask anybody that is in favor to come forward and speak, other than the one that was just here. Vic. Anyone else want to come and speak in favor? No one else coming? I've asked that anyone want to come and object. Does anyone want to come and object to this? No one coming forward? Does the board have any questions about this? I'll entertain a motion to approve it as presented.
I'll make a motion that we approve it as presented. Do I need to read that?
All in favor, say aye.
Well, I think I have to read it.
Oh, we got to do a statement.
Okay. The Board of Commissioners finds and determines that case number RZ 2024-05 is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Town of Benson Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The request is reasonable in keeping with the surrounding properties, and the findings of the request are reasonable and in the public interest. Hereby recommending approval. Can I read that next?
All in favor, say aye.
Wait, I gotta read one more. The Board of Commissioners adopts a statement of consistency and finds and determines that case number RZ 2024-05 is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Town of Benson's Comprehensive Land Use Plan, and the request is reasonable and in the public interest, hereby recommending approval.
Now, everybody, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. That one passed. We close that public hearing. Now we're going to SD 2024-02 Eastwood Home Subdivision. Wait just a minute. We're gonna let the attorney speak first.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to remind everybody, this one, we just went through, the one before was a legislative matter. This is a quasi-judicial matter. This is where you sit impaneled as you were judges in deciding whether or not to approve or disapprove the application before you. You know, base your ruling or judgment tonight on substantial, competent, relevant evidence provided in the record tonight. All the witnesses need to be sworn. You know hear me? That's part of the competency of the evidence. We'll get into, after the presentation by the planning director, about standing. If there's any party that wants to come up in opposition that would contend to have standing, we'll get into that after the initial application. Before we get started with the presentation from Mr. Embler, now's a good time to call for disclosures. Are there any conflicts, bias, or ex parte communications that any member of the board needs to disclose and or potentially ask for recusal for about this application? Okay. That's all I have right now.
Swear in, Paul. With the exception of the attorneys, everybody that speaks tonight will have to be sworn in.
My name is Paul Embler. I reside at 11 Kentwood Drive, Smithfield, North Carolina. This is a request for residential subdivision preliminary plat approval. It's to subdivide approximately 35.63 acres of land into 85 single-family lots that are detached, and it is located within the extraterritorial jurisdiction of Benson. It will be asked for annexation during the process, if approved. The property owners are Johnny C. and Dickie Jan McLam. The petitioner is Eastwood Homes, and the location is on 27 Highway West. The current uses of the property is vacant. Oops. Now we're going the other way. Okay, the area outlined in red is the total tract. There are a total of 4 parcels that are involved in the overall site. The current zoning, which the town rezoned at the last month, is R6. And it was approved with 4 conditions that are associated with the property, and to review those shortly with you. I think that's in my staff report, which is in my briefcase. But there were 4 conditions that were approved, basically associated with the size of the lots, the density of the property, the amount of open space, and the amount of recreation area that was associated. Recalling from memory, which is a dangerous thing for me, the recreational space was about 1.5 acres. The overall conservancy area or open space was about 11 acres. The average lot size would be no less than 7,200 square feet, and the average density about 2.5 units per acre. This is a proposed site plan that has been submitted, or or preliminary plat. The 85 lots are shown. To the bottom of the page is NC 27 with the access to the property from there. Might I add that that is a NCDOT highway, and they will be regulating how the improvements are made to access and egress the property. They've given us some preliminary indication that there'll be eastbound, there would be a left turn lane, and westbound, there would be a right-in lane going into the property. As you enter into the property on the left, there is a recreation area, and where the composite mailboxes will be, where all the mail will be picked up at that one location. And then the rest of it, the cross-hatched areas, or the kind of gray areas from your point of view, those are the open space areas, and then the rest of it are the single-family lots. Some of the things that staff recommends approval of as we go through this thing, we recommend approval of it, but there are certain conditions that are specific to our ordinance that need to be met. And we would propose that these be taken into consideration, that these will be coming as they submit the engineering plats primarily, and will be reviewed, and no construction would start on the property, and all permits are in hand from DOT and stormwater and erosion control and all the other permits that would be required. When you're taking this into consideration, 4 items must be considered as far as the finding of fact before you adopt this, if that's your choice. One would be the consistency with the adopted plans and policies of the town, and we do find this to be in order since the rezoning, that this is an acceptable zoning for the type development that they're proposing. The subdivision meets all required specifications of this chapter. The subdivision will not be detrimental to the use or orderly development of other properties in the surrounding area, and will not violate the character of the existing standards or for development of properties in the surrounding area. The subdivision design will provide for the distribution of traffic in a manner that will avoid or mitigate congestion within the immediate area, will provide for the unified and orderly use or extension of public infrastructure, and will not materially endanger the environment, public health, safety, or the general welfare. And the last thing that's in your packet, which is this, is the motion to approve or disapprove. The planning board, its last meeting did make a recommendation for approval of this subdivision. So with that, I would stand open for any questions.
Anyone have questions of Paul?
I've got one UDO question. It's just based off of subdivision we did. What kind of buffering requirements are gonna be required between residential and residential? Because all the neighboring properties around this are already residential, and I just wonder what our UDOs.
There will be a perimeter buffer required where it is up against adjacent properties.
Okay, all right, like a Class C or like a, do you know?
I'm not quite familiar with the terminology even after 2.5 months with the town, but it's a fairly aggressive
Just a week.
buffer.
It's aggressive? It's an aggressive?
Well, fairly aggressive, it's not like an industrial site would be, but there is a course in the UDO that with residential property against residential, it's not a complete opaque screen by any means.
In the current approved UDO or in the proposed one?
And the one that's being utilized, which is the current one.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
We'll now open the public hearing. We'll call the applicant or a representative for the applicant.
While you're coming up, let me just give one more brief reference to standing. And let me just ask, are there any parties that are in opposition who would claim to have standing as a party, or would like to cross-examine witnesses or call witnesses or submit evidence in this matter tonight? Any opposing party that would contend to have standing and want to cross-examine or offer any kind of evidence? If that, I won't spend more time on it just so we can keep moving at a good pace tonight, but if that comes back up and any party does claim to have standing, just briefly, standing is an aggrieved party that would suffer some kind of special damage from the proposed application or the proposed development. The board, this board has always welcomed participation from the public, but a party with standing is different altogether than somebody who just wants to come up and be heard or give their opinion. So if that comes up later and you wish to speak, just understand we may have to get into your particular standing if you claim to be a party. So leave that at that. Thank you for indulging me.
Swear in the applicant. State your name and address.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. My name is Don Curry with Curry Engineering, 205 South Fuquay Avenue in Fuquay Varina. I appreciate Mr. Embler's presentation of the subdivision this evening. It was thorough and complete, and I don't really have anything to add to it. We appreciate the planning board's recommendation last week, unanimous recommendation for this. And on behalf of the applicant, we appreciate your consideration of this preliminary subdivision plat tonight. This layout and this plat is really virtually identical from the way that we started this process. I'm pleased to say so. It's very consistent. It's the same layout that we presented to the neighbors in both neighborhood meetings, both for the rezoning and the preliminary plat. And we're looking forward to taking the next steps and working through construction drawings with staff reviews. So I will just add to your question, sir, earlier about the buffer. We are proposing a 20-foot type B buffer around the perimeter. There are a few options available to us, and we selected the widest buffer there, which is 20 feet.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But I'm happy to answer any other questions about the layout of the subdivision.
Well, there's no questions at this time.
Very good. Thank you.
Anyone else want to come in favor? Okay, we'll go to opposition. Anyone that wants to come and give opposition testimony, come forward now and be sworn. Anyone that is opposed, come forward and be sworn. No one coming forward. The commissioners now can ask questions.
Mr. Paul, I just want to confirm that you've done the calculations and that this plat map meets all the conditions we put on it when we rezoned it in May as far as the size of the acreage and open space. Is that correct? Does that meet all the calculations?
It does, yes, sir.
Okay.
Consistent with the rezoning.
All right, perfect.
Any other questions?
Only question I have is, DOT has 27 and 50, and they're gonna bring the, outlets out on 27. 27, to me, DOT has not done a good job on the new subdivision that they have got going in on the left side. I'm just wondering how they are gonna tie this in, to 27, and have y'all got any insight in what DOT has told you on the 27 inlet or outlet right there? Have they talked about putting up any islands, maybe a roundabout?
You got a brand new roundabout already, which is more, there's more roundabouts than Fuquay has.
You've already got one named after you.
Oh, it ain't named after me. No, I just wondered if y'all had that conversation with DOT. I don't know at what point they come in. We have got so many speeders and everything going that way, and now we're going to put an outlet right there on 27, and I know that's the only way to go, but I'm just wondering if y'all have had any conversation with DOT. I know they do their own thing, but
Yes, sir. We have had some conversations with DOT about this subdivision. I've shared our layout with them, and they have approved preliminarily the location of the connection to 27, which is right across from the other subdivision across the street. We've also talked to them about turn lane widening and things like that, so we'll comply with all their requirements as far as turn lanes, which will at least be a left turn lane, probably a right turn lane in as well, as Mr. Embler stated. So we'll work closely with DOT, and that's really the next step as we prepare construction drawings. We will submit them ultimately to DOT for their approval. We can't get a driveway permit or any encroachments without their blessing.
right.
So we will be working very closely with the DOT. I will say I suspect what you see out there now is still a work in progress. I noticed as I was coming in, it looks like they still need to do some work on dressing up the ditches and some things like that. So I think that's still being finalized and being worked out in the field from what I've seen. We will probably come out and resurvey that road since it was not widened when we did our original survey. We'll send our surveyor back out here and pick up the edge of pavement and so that make sure that we're working from the latest and greatest that's out
So
there.
your access that you're talking about coming in on 27 is going to be right where the other subdivision across the street is?
Yes, sir. That's the
See, I was
safest way to
thinking
do
it
it.
was further up toward 50. Oh,
No,
that
sir.
would-
It's lined up with it, so it's and that's the safest way to do it. You avoid those
Right.
offset intersections. So,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Well, we've got a lot that goes in that I don't think we look at well enough. Just keep that in mind when you're presenting them. Make sure it works.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Anything else from the board? Or anybody? We now go into deliberation. At this point, no more questions of the commissioners. So we ask them to talk amongst themselves and decide what we'll do.
I'm ready to make a motion if everybody's got anything.
All I'll entertain a motion.
I make the motion that the Board of Commissioners recommends approval of SD 2024-02 for an 85 lot single residential subdivision there on 27.
Anybody else wants?
I would just suggest that maybe, don't necessarily probably need to go through each one individually, but just in your motion, if you would consider adding that.
It meets
The
all the
fact that
findings of fact.
all of the findings of fact, 1 through 4 are satisfied.
I amend the motion and include that it meets all of the standards as required by the findings of fact.
Perfect, thank you.
Are you okay, Matt?
I'm good. Yes, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. SD 2024-02 is approved, and we're out of closed session. Yeah. I said closed session, what I meant. All right, receiving public input on 2024-25 fiscal year budget and fee schedule. A public hearing. Who's going to talk?
All right. So Kayla's going to go over it a little bit more in the old business, but she did propose a budget at the last meeting. The total proposed budget for 2025 is $18,217,572. There is no increase in taxes. However, there is some increases in the fees, which were posted on our fee schedule. She's going to go through all of it again in old business, but we've had it posted in the manager's office for the last couple weeks. So we'll take any questions.
All right, we'll open public hearing. Anybody that wants to come forward and give us input on the budget, come forward.
Hi, good evening. My name is Heather. I've been a resident of Benson. Sorry,
Your
this.
name and address.
What was that?
Your name and address.
Oh, 1021 East Maplewood Drive, just over by the Char Grill over here. I've been a resident of Benson for a couple years now. I moved here because I loved the small town feel, and I wanted to get away from the big city living. I work in Raleigh, but part-time at home. And I formerly have over 20 years of experience living in big cities. I lived in Los Angeles suburbs, and then I also lived in Seattle suburbs. So I've watched these cute little residential suburbs get overtaken by the big cities. And I think if you were to speak I think if you were to speak to a lot of your current residents on why they moved here, they would probably also relate to my similar reasons for wanting, more of a community feel, small town feel, getting away from more expensive living in the city. And it was brought to my attention through your Town of Benson Facebook page, and you'll see many comments echoing what I'm about to say. But it was brought to my attention that you were considering sorry, I'm nervous and I haven't done this before. That part of the budget is being allocated towards economic development opportunities to encourage more economic growth, I guess, between the towns of Benson and Four Oaks and Dunn. I just want to encourage you that again, I think a lot of your residents are living here because they like the small town community feel. I love knowing my neighbors, and you don't get that with the big cities. I love encouraging mom and pop businesses, like small local business, but I don't think encouraging more growth, bringing newer and better here is not the answer. I think we have several things that need fixing in town already, as great as I love the city, but as you know, our roads have a lot of potholes and need repaving. Some of the infrastructures in town are crumbling, and if we want more businesses to come to downtown Benson, we need to fix those crumbling buildings so that we can encourage, I would like to see them more move-in ready so we can encourage more mom and pop businesses to come to town. I know our police officers, I think with more growth, we need more police officers, and I personally don't think our police officers get paid enough, so if there's a $55,000, amount here that's at stake, I would encourage to either hire another police officer, or I know some of their equipment is a little maybe outdated, or we could use some more cameras in town. And then there's tons of garbage that needs picking up along some of the sides of the roads, and especially in the country roads. I've been out there walking and running, and I just noticed all the trash. And so I just think there's things we need to fix now rather than trying to promote more, bigger, better, bring in more growth, more people, because with more people, more growth brings more crime, more traffic to our streets, which are already crumbling. So anyway, that's what I wanted to encourage you to put any surplus towards. So, thank you.
So I'm gonna thank you for that. No, you're good. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will say that I think probably was a comment more towards the Alliance, which is the next thing that we're going to speak on, which is fine, totally fine. So we'll mark you in there. This is specifically on the budget. If anybody's here to speak on the Alliance, then that's going to be the next public hearing that we have. So as soon as this one's closed. But no, you're totally fine. We'll take those. If that's what yours was really intended for, we'll put it under the public comment for the Alliance. Mm-hmm.
Heather, thank you for coming. I just want to add to that, the $55,000 on the next item is not currently in our budget that has been presented, correct?
There's $60,000 in the economic development line item.
For
that
downtown?
So that could go either way, right? It could be for downtown development, which is for incentives, or it can go towards the Alliance. That's kind of where she's left it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about the annual budget 24-25 and the fee schedules that go with that. So we're looking for input on that budget, ideas that you have, that you want to present. So anyone that wants to come forward, come and talk.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Reggie Holly. I have a place at 207 North Street here in Benson. Just wanted to raise a concern about the proposed budget as it would affect citizens of our community who on a fixed income, or citizens of our community who live at or below the poverty level. I believe in the budget proposal, and I haven't had an opportunity to speak to town manager about this, but I believe in the budget proposal there is a recommendation that the reconnect fees for citizens whose utilities have been turned off, that the reconnect fees after hours would graduate from $30 to $100. And if indeed that is a proposed recommendation, my concern is that the citizens, I suspect, who struggle to meet their utility bill month after month, and in some cases, pay their utility bills at the last minute are likely the individuals whose utilities are disconnected. And it would seem to me that if they are struggling to meet their utility bills on a monthly basis, or for whatever reason their utilities may be turned off, my concern is that we're simply adding a burden to the citizens who can least afford that burden. And I appreciate the need to raise fees. I understand that after hours we are inviting our town employees to come back. But I think there's got to be a better way, Mayor and members of the town council. That represents, I believe, a 70% increase, again, to the citizens who can least afford it. And and listen, I'm a conservative guy, but I also believe in being fair, and particularly to the citizens of our community who can least afford to pay that kind of fee. It seems more a penalty than anything, and I can certainly appreciate some kind of modest penalty. But when I look at the other increases recommended in your budget, I see that there's a 25% increase. I believe I read somewhere in the budget where if someone wishes to erect a temporary pole, there are two fees originally. One is a $35 fee to erect the pole or to connect the pole, and another is an additional fee, of course, is $35 to disconnect the pole, and certainly the management is far more expert than I about this. So that at the moment there's a $70 fee when you add those two figures together. Well, in your proposed budget, you suggest that there be a one-time fee. Certainly makes sense, but you're raising that fee from $70 to $100. I suspect that the people who are in need of these poles, who are building and so forth, can probably afford a 25% increase. But again, when you compare that increase to the increase that's been imposed on citizens in our town who've been here for quite some time, Mayor, who are struggling, and we raise their reconnect fee after hours by 70%, it seems to me wholly unfair. And I think that's not what we're about. And so I would simply suggest that if indeed that is a proposed recommendation, and I could be very wrong, but if indeed it is a proposed recommendation, I would simply suggest that you would consider making it consistent and fair with the other increases. And I think one of the largest increases is about 25%, and that is for the pole, the temporary pole that's placed. Just wanted to bring that to your attention, Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I will talk about that. You are correct. Currently, the after-hours reconnection fee sits at $70. The proposal is $100, so that's about a 43% increase. It is the same as the proposed temporary service pole increase. As you stated, you are correct. It was $35 in and cut out. We are proposing to combine that to $100. So they are actually the same increase, 70 to 100. In terms of why the increase on the after-hours reconnections, in looking at all of the local municipalities, Smithfield, Selma, Angier, Dunn, just the ones I have offhand, they are already either charging more for after-hours reconnections, or if they aren't currently charging more, they are charging more for normal hour reconnections. So we were kind of just coming up to baseline with the other municipalities on that one. And let me also add to, sorry, not to cut you off, Reggie.
Oh,
Let me
sure.
just add this. we do have to cover the cost if they're coming back, if our employees are in fact coming back to reconnect, they automatically get 2 hours for that call. And so we're having to cover, and what we try to do is, if you have a lot of reconnects in one night, we just get a list and send somebody like at 8:30, 9 o'clock, so they're not constantly coming back and forth. So we are trying to save on that, but we have to pay them 2 hours, and then we also have to pay for the gas and the machine, you know, the truck that they're driving and those things. So we're simply attempting to cover cost of bringing that said employee back in to do the reconnection.
And Mayor, I certainly don't want to get into debate with with staff on this in this setting, but I would suggest that it doesn't make it right that other townships around us have adopted such a policy. I don't buy into that. We are leaders. We're not followers. We're leaders. And I believe that we should challenge our staff to find more creative, innovative ways to address that situation. I suspect that at any hour in the town of Benson, there's someone qualified to reconnect utilities. And if that's not the case, I think that we ought to at least give some thought to how we can make certain that we are not treating the citizens who can afford it the least unfairly. And I do believe that the policy as set forth in this budget proposal treats the least of our citizens harshly. They're the ones who can least afford that extraordinary burden of a 70% increase in reconnection fees. Thank you.
Thanks for your input. Thank you, Reggie. Anyone else want to come and give your opinion of the budget? Come forward if you do. Anyone else want to come? We'll close the public hearing. Any other input you want to give?
Not right now.
Okay.
We have a presentation.
Now we're going to I-95, I-40 Crossroads of America Economic Development Alliance Incorporated. And I invite anyone that wants to come and speak on this to come forward.
Mayor and Commissioners, I'm William Massengill. I live at 211 West Main Street in Benson, and I'm glad to be here tonight. I've been sort of following this thing with the Alliance for a time, because when I was the mayor, I would have loved nothing better than to have a forum to have worked with Dunn and Four Oaks. To me, there's a couple of things that are important, and that is, we're talking about tax increases and increases. We know that residential is not going to support the town of Benson, that you're going to have industry. And when we look at our numbers for our citizens, when you look at, in Johnston County, the median home income is $80,610. In North Carolina, it's $67,516. In Four Oaks, it's $66,014. In Benson, it's $56,054. Now, that's about $24,000 less than the median household income in Johnston County. Now, I'm not looking for one of these jobs. I'm at the other end of things, but I am concerned about our children and our future. And what we do know is that building good paying jobs is something that takes a lot of work, and it takes working together. The days of going solo on things are over. We know that if any kind of business or however, it's about working together. It's about water and sewer. It's about infrastructure. It's about roads, all of those things. And it's better when you can do it with other people. I don't know that much about the Alliance. I do know that out of an $18 million budget, $55,000 is not a lot of money. And people could say, well, what could you do with that? Well, what I'll say is, many years ago, people brought Chicopee to Benson. It has educated, it has paid for a lot of families, it has paid taxes to the town of Benson. And so what I would just challenge you to think about tonight as you think about this is the investment that you could make and what could be the return for the people in Benson, the people that are going to move to Benson. I know people say, I don't want Benson to grow. We heard that for years, that we didn't want Benson to grow. But we're not going to control whether Benson grows or not. The free market determines that. But you are going to determine what kind of quality of life there is for the people here. Are they going to have to drive to Raleigh or drive to Clayton for a good job? Or are somewhere like the Alliance that is interested in advanced manufacturing? Advanced manufacturing, those jobs pay good money, and you don't have to go to college to do it. So I just ask you to consider that tonight as you think about it. Think about the future of Benson, what kind of legacy you want to leave, and really thinking about making an investment. Again, I don't know that the Alliance is the best thing, but it is an option, and it's there. And if you say you don't want to do it, you're passing up on that opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, William. Anyone else wants to come forward?
I'm Jean Cazenave. I live over in Eastwood subdivision across the freeway. I don't really know what I think about this program. I do know that $55,000 is not a lot of money. But I guess, I hope that you guys have asked yourself the question is what are operational expenses? That's the way it was advertised. So what exactly is that? I mean, is it a salary for an economic development guy for 1 year, or is it a membership fee, or what is it that we get for that? So I also know that we can't stop growth, and it takes a three-legged stool to make a well-run town, industry, commercial, residential, for all your tax bases to make the town survive. And I think that what I read about this company is that that's what they're for, industry. I just saw that they got a check from the federal government for $1.5 million yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that or not. So, and that I presume might go to their Dunn manufacturing plant. They have a place that they built down on Magnolia Avenue. So are they going to build one of those here? I don't know. Is there a plan? Does anybody know what that is? I mean, I'd like to see the industry stick to the major arteries of 95 and 40 and not necessarily be in the town among all the smaller businesses that would benefit from those industries. So hopefully that's it. And I studied a little bit about what Johnson County had done with the Workforce Training Center that they have up in, I think it's in Clayton. And most of those jobs that they're training for are specific to one industry, big pharma. So big pharma is benefiting from the people that are coming out of that workforce training center, and it's there's tax money that is going to the Workforce Training Center, and the Johnson Community College that partners with that Workforce Training Center is also getting tax dollars. So I'm kind of saying, okay, they're getting a lot of money to benefit those two companies. Now, I do know that companies participate a little bit, but I don't think it balances out that the companies are paying in full for all the training that those students are getting at the Workforce Training Center. So I don't want it to end up to be like that. I'd like to see, possibly, if this guy knows what he's doing, he'll get maybe some, I wrote down a couple things, get some companies in here that we jobbed out stuff to China. I mean, cell phones, computers, or things like electrical transformers. We could build those around here. We can do airplane parts, or get some fabric manufacturers back to employ some of the people that lost their jobs when they went overseas. That kind of thing. They might need retrained. I hope I'm making myself clear.
To answer your question on the $55,000, that will go towards an economic development person for us. That'll be part of the alliance, and that money will pay 1 year of an economic development person.
And then the future payroll budget would include that person?
Well, and I think there's a lot of money that in North Carolina and in Johnson County, the main word that everybody talks about is getting everybody together. Regionalization.
Agreed.
And when you talk about regionalization, it's a group of people that are together that have the same goals, that they can then start bringing some industry in. And William Massengill is exactly right. We can't survive on houses alone. We've got to have some commercial and industrial go. That's why, one of the reasons we want to go to the alliance. The other reason is that we're sitting at the crossroads of America, and we're not part of it. And that's what it was named after when we started. So I think it's an opportunity to bring things here that will be good for our people, because I've never had but one goal myself, and that is to bring businesses here that our people that live here can work in, and the kids that are in their families that are going to school when they graduate, and we've got businesses here for them to work. They might go to college on something that goes to this, or they might decide not to go to college and go to a school. This building that's going to be built in Four Oaks will be a training center for, that's part of the alliance. It's part of the system, and there's going to be one in Dunn for the electronics part of it. That money is already there to start working to build those buildings. So the alliance is a means to regionalization, because we got Dunn, we got Benson, and we got Four Oaks. We've almost covered Johnson County. So it's got to be a good thing that we can all get together and work together.
Right, I agree. I think that tax base is going to be important for all three things: commercial, industrial, and residential. So I guess it wasn't clear exactly what the alliance did and what that money was going to be used for. So those were my questions. So that's why I said I don't know how I feel about it. But after your introduction of that, it's probably something we should do. So thank you.
Thanks.
I would like to clarify, going forward in the next budget, that will not be shown in the personnel salary line. It will continue to be paid directly to the alliance.
Anyone else want to come forward?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Adam Caldwell. I live at 1170 Morgan Road. And it's a pleasure to speak to you tonight as a citizen, someone who's proud to call Benson home. We often hear a lot about quality of life, and if someone were to ask each of you what your goal is as a public servant, chances are your answers would all boil down to bettering the quality of life for those you represent. You have a unique opportunity to do that by joining the I-95 and I-40 Crossroads of America Economic Development Alliance. We all have our own opinions when it comes to growth. I'm certainly no fan of mobile units sitting outside of overcrowded schools, congested roadways, or pristine farmland that once grew crops, now grow in rooftops. If you join the Alliance, I believe you as a governing board will have more tools at your disposal to chart Benson's future. When you have an organization whose sole mission is to attract high-paying jobs for your residents, our schools have another community partner to help meet their needs. Your residents heading to Wake County every morning can instead work closer to home for a comparable salary. And that not only frees up our roadways, but it also increases our local sales tax revenue. The land currently being sought for residential development will have to compete with industrial uses. And we all know the industry requires less town services while offering a greater economic return for Benson. The high-paying jobs the Alliance can attract will raise our median household income, and that will lift up all residents of all races, ethnicities, ages, and income levels. Benson is a very special place, but it does not exist in a silo. We are competing for resources, jobs, and talent with our neighboring towns. The Alliance is where we can compete as one. I never want Benson to lose its small-town charm. And my wife and I are raising our 2 little boys here because Benson is a close-knit town. And I hope one day that they'll be able to raise their families in the same environment. At the same time, I want to make sure that they'll have a high-paying job right here in town when they're ready to enter the workforce. Without a vision to attract those high-paying jobs, outside forces are in the driver's seat. By joining the Alliance, the town can be in the driver's seat with greater leverage and tools at its disposal. Let's fill in the missing link and boost our small town's quality of life for the benefit of all. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Question to you just a minute. You were with Tom Tillis' office for how long?
About 8 years.
About 8 years. In saying that, you're very involved in politics, or you have been, and I am getting all of this from our representatives. The Alliance from our state level to our federal level. Alliance, when you bring towns together, is the only way they're even looking now. Now we're seeing all these millions of dollars that are coming in, that are already in the bank, that has been spent in 4 Oaks and over in Dunn for these centers to bring more and more help, higher paying jobs from $60,000 to $85,000 that they're already doing. Now, if we come up with your knowledge of the way the government is being run as far as funds, if we come up and say that, you know, Benson is just not ready for this, we just can't do it right now, what do you think that it's going to end up costing Benson in our own representatives, and what that I'm hearing them say, look, y'all need to get on board, it's not going to cost you, it's going to cost you this. But here, we're not looking at next week what you're going to gain from it. We're looking at 2, 3, 5 years from now, what it's going to do for our kids. And everybody's on the same page. Residential doesn't pay taxes. It doesn't pay. I know we feel like we do, but it just doesn't pay for our police departments, and we need more police, and we need more fire, we need more rescue, and we need all the amenities that come with it. But they say, look at Clayton. Well, Clayton brings in, their tax base is off industry. Smithfield, off industry. That's why their budget is what it is. I'm just saying, if we don't do anything, is that a big strike right now against us with your background in the political world?
Yeah, I'll reiterate, I'm speaking as a citizen tonight, but from my experience in the past, I think Mayor Medlin said it best, regionalization today is the name of the game. And I say that because we're all competing for the same number of limited resources. And so when you can join together with a Dunn, with Four Oaks, and say, hey, we're united under this common banner, this is what we want to do, this is our vision, well, you can take that to a legislator or a funding agency. That carries a lot of weight with it versus this is what just Benson wants to do, this is what just Four Oaks wants to do, this is what just Dunn wants to do. So when we can unite and come together, it does carry a lot of weight.
Thank you.
Thank you all again.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Loretta Bird, and I'm the President and CEO of the Benson Area Chamber. Upon learning about this public hearing regarding joining the I-95 Alliance, I delved into researching economic development. And the prevailing trend in economic development is regional collaboration. For small towns like Benson, lacking the budgets, resources, brands, and platforms to advocate and market ourselves effectively, regional collaboration is crucial. When was the last time we had an economic development director actively promoting Benson and fostering relationships with property owners? Legislators have underscored the importance of regionalism, as Will just said, and collaboration in water and sewer and economic development as a more effective growth strategy. Both Senator Jackson and Representative Strickland have emphasized the necessity of regional cooperation. I spoke with Representative Strickland this week, and he confirmed that a regional approach moving forward is what is necessary. With the federal COVID funds depleted, and they're gone now, there will be limited aid for small towns. It has come to my attention that legislators, county commissioners, and private industry representatives question why Benson is not part of the collaboration. They wonder if Benson grasps the significance of economic development and collaboration. Research reveals that municipalities cannot rely solely on residential tax bases for sustenance. Without a robust industrial tax base, residential taxes will bear the burden, potentially leading to increasing property taxes. Do we aspire to merely be a bedroom community for Raleigh and Fayetteville? Even communities like Cary and Apex, who were once bedroom towns, are attracting industrial development and job opportunities. I did in my research, a home must cost at least $400,000 to adequately affect the tax base. How many $400,000 homes do we have in Benson? Workforce development is another critical aspect of economic growth. A strong local workforce is essential to prevent citizens from commuting outside the county for work daily. Did you know that 66% of the people that live in Johnston County leave the county for work? And that impacts where they spend their money. They spend their money in Wake County for food. They go shopping in Wake County. More than likely, they go to the dentist, the eye doctor, and their doctors in Wake County. Wake County is getting all that sales tax revenue. The Alliance's efforts have led to the establishment of a workforce development center in Four Oaks, which is a vital resource for future employees in industries requiring specialized training. The Workforce Center in Clayton focuses on life sciences, business training, and workforce development in biotechnology, supporting the growth of companies like Novo and Grifols. Imagine the prospect of our children or grandchildren securing jobs with starting salaries ranging from $60,000 to $93,000 annually. Benson's Industries can offer such opportunities. The Alliance has achieved notable successes, including attracting Becton Dickinson and Scott Industries to Four Oaks. They've established the Workforce Development Center. And I understand that there will be 2 business parks in Dunn opening with state funding that will fund the infrastructure and site development. And that is because of the Alliance. I urge you to conduct research, contemplate the future, and consider the well-being of future generations. While currently the circumstances may be satisfactory, what about the next generation? And I do want to add at this point, the Chamber of Commerce has offered back to the town to donate the $3,500 that you budgeted for the sundown concerts, to give it back to the town to help fund this project. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts with you.
Thank you, Loretta. Anyone else wants to come forward?
Good evening. Jim Johnson, former commissioner, seated right there in that same seat with Will Chandler. We addressed the same issue, identical issue, in 2021. At that particular time, we, as a board, decided not to fund the effort, and so it died a natural death. I've got a bunch of questions, and it seems to me that everyone that has presented information here this evening has at least had question. Some said, well, I'm not really sure. Some said, well, the mayor's clarified it now. My question is, do each and every one of you know everything about this alliance? How easy is it going to be to get out if it doesn't work?
Jim, I will say a lot of that has changed, and I was totally against day one. I wasn't sitting on the board then, and I saw what they were presenting. I thought it was crazy, but you know, they have come back. We don't share revenue. That was one of the big things. There's a lot of items that have been changed, and one of them was, hey, once in, you're not in like we were in before. We can get out. This town can get out anytime they want to.
This is a can I add to that,
yeah.
Gent? I was here with you then. I had a lot of concerns then. I mean, you talked about it then as well, and a lot of concerns Will just mentioned, and a lot of that has changed when they came back to us. I'll let Max help me with this, if you will. And I think it's unfortunate that nobody's here to identify these other than me, but this is, from what I understand, is a proposal. If we decide that we want to move forward, it would go back to what it was. We would have 4 members on the board, 2 ex officio, and 2 voting members on the board, one being somebody appointed from this commission, and then one private person being appointed by this commission. It is a 12-month agreement. It's a 12-month contract, just like our trash contract or anything else. And in 12 months, then if we do not decide to put in whatever amount there is required to meet the budget next year, then we can bail out. And so there's all of the tax revenue sharing, the 20%, the 10%, all of that, and the 20% to the alliance, all of that is out. All of that is going away from the contract now. So, or the proposal, from what I'm being told. Basically, it's the way I looked at it, and the only way I told him I would consider it, that this was a 1 year basically contract, just like we hire a manager for 1 year, we're paying a third of a salary of an economic development person to go after industry for a 12-month period. And if they don't come back with the results of 12 months, whoever sits on this board at that point in time can choose not to renew that contract, just like anything else.
There's no revenue sharing, is that what you're saying?
That is, other than the $55,000, that is our only buy-in. There is no tax revenue sharing at all.
Let me ask you this. There is no one here tonight to present any of the changes or the novelty of the new arrangement. Why not? I mean, y'all were asked to address something tonight. Why is it there not someone here that can present that? We're relying on what y'all have, the homework that you've done or not done or whatever. Why is there no one here to present that?
Unable to attend.
What?
They were unable to attend.
Well, isn't it important for them to have us join in? I mean, who asked us to come into this thing? They did. Who?
They did.
Well, if it's so gosh awful great, why do they need us?
They couldn't answer that question. I've asked it.
I asked it also.
Well, is there no one here that has that concern? I mean, look, we are talking about $55,000, and I agree with, I didn't catch your name, but I agree with, but look, while we're all here, why you ran and were elected, was to be concerned about the citizens of Benson. Not what's going on in Four Oaks, not what's going on in Dunn, and I'll tell you something else I've heard tonight. Well, the elected officials, if we become part of that alliance, you mean my elected officials are not working for me now? I've got to join some type of alliance for them to be for me? I never knew that. But going back to what I'm saying, yeah, y'all are asked to make a decision. No one's here to represent that alliance entity. I've heard good things. I'm not going to say everything's bad. I'm not sitting here, gloom and doom. But I am saying this, $55,000. If you're here about the taxpayers of Benson, $55,000. And I know y'all have to maneuver around budgets and all that kind of stuff. But I can come up with $55,000. And I would say, look, she mentioned police protection. I'm going to tell you something. Roads are horrible. There's not a street here in town that I would want to go and say, look at what we do here. I'm not going to get sidetracked on that. I am going to say, but $55,000 would go in that direction to try to do something now that is definitively helpful for those citizens. Now, getting back to this other thing, well, we don't have an economic development person in our town. Well, why don't we have one? Why are we reliant on someone else to come in who's going to be representing two other entities? Okay, I'm assuming that the phone call will come in and they'll say, we're interested in this area. And by the way, any way you want to paint it, Benson is the crossroads. It's not Four Oaks and it's not Dunn. If you go out there and look, 40 and 95 is Benson. And I think it's so easy for people to say, well, we're the crossroads of 40 and 95. No, you're not. You're 8 miles away. One other thing, we've got things now, and you can say diamonds in the rough. These aren't even diamonds in the rough. We have wastewater treatment. All right? Ever stop to think? I had a conversation with a guy in Smithfield the other day. The first thing he said, well, everybody wants y'all in it because of the wastewater treatment stuff. You know, I would ask you respectfully, before you make any decisions, before you, even if you say, well, it only obligates us for 12 months, I think you should be more educated and someone should be here to present in totality and let the taxpayers come in here and ask these questions before they're obligated. I remember years ago, I'll give you an example. I think you're going to remember this, but well, let me say this first of all. William, if I said, I tell you what I want to do. You're in the real estate business, all right? And my brother's in the real estate business, okay? And Ron Wood in the real estate business. All three of you right here. You say, look, I want to generate and make your business a whole lot better. I'm going to do things for you. If y'all will hire me, I'm going to generate a lot of business for you. Okay? Well, you know what you would say? Because, I mean, you would say, well, What's in it for me? How are you going to make it better for me? I can do my own advertising. And by the way, I got some questions here, Jim, because I think you're going to slide stuff to your brother more than you're going to slide it to me. And by the way, I probably would. So you better look at that too. The old joke, well, why'd you bite me? You knew I was a snake. This is coming, this is applicable now. Please review this before you make the decision, before you obligate this town. Years ago, we had, I don't remember where Steve knew Schaefer was. I think he was the town manager at the time. Economic development guy. Okay. But this is a great example. Cracker Barrel was coming to Benson. They called, they contacted, they said, we want to come to Benson. They wanted to go out there right off of 95 where the housing, off of Morgan Road. Steve, in the meantime, took the job in Dunn. I don't blame Steve. You know what Steve did? He took the Cracker Barrel crowd to Dunn. Good. I think he should have. If he hadn't brought it to Benson and he was coming to Benson, I'd be upset with him. Those are things that you better address. When you align yourself with other entities, you're losing some of your ability to ask questions. You're losing your ability to make decisions. It's just another layer of bureaucracy. Look, I hope that what I've heard tonight is not, and I can ask Larry Strickland, and I can ask others, I just want to make sure that they're out there representing me and they're doing what I hope that they're doing for me, just here in small-town Benson. But I throw this out there to you, and I ask you, be very circumspect with what you're doing here tonight. There's no one here to present it, and that always leaves a big question in my mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else wants to come forward?
I have one. Oh, come on. I have one that emailed that I need to read in public comment section too, but you come on. You're fine.
Mayor and the commissioners, I wasn't sure if I was going to speak, but after that I got to say a couple of things. I'm George Johnson. I live at 442 Parker Road. I'm in the TMJ of Four Oaks. I was born and raised here. Most of you know. The lady that spoke here, I think she hit the nail on the head of how I think. I've gone to some meetings in Four Oaks, and a lot of people have, and expressed the views that we don't want it to grow like all the other cities. They're moving from Fuquay, they're moving from McGee's Crossroads to here because they want to get away from the traffic. We don't have a plan here. They don't have a plan in Four Oaks. They don't have a plan in the county. I asked the planning board in Four Oaks, well, if they knew what the plan was from the county. They got no guidelines. Everything's piecemealed. There's no plan in the whole United States. I went out west. They're pouring out of California to small mining towns. I went to some small mining towns. I wanted to spend the night at a peaceful place that me and my wife stayed like 5 years ago. They're pouring out of there, hippies, druggies. They built brand new towns where there's no water. And there's not going to be any water here. I heard the governor here, not the one now, but before, say we got plenty of water. We're not going to have it. It's dry in Four Oaks. Where I live where the creek comes. They want to build around all that. I told them they're forcing out all the wildlife and everything. This property here ain't going to be worth a darn if we don't grow correctly and not too fast and have a good plan. I'm a bit nervous up here. But this is important to me. Okay? I left here. I've been gone from here for 40 years, 30 years, 35. I was in the military. There's places in the world busting to the seams. They're cutting down all the trees. They got crime. You got prostitution here now. They're bringing in girls. I saw it this week. Okay? They're pouring in here from these cities. White slavery. Right off Main Street. I know what I saw. I saw something, I said, that ain't quite right. I saw a white guy, two black guys. They were clean cut. I said, something ain't right about them. I turned around, there was a girl hiding behind a tree, embarrassed. Looked like a runaway. That's what we're going to have here. Now, we do need jobs, I got that. But a lot of the jobs that come here, they're going to bring more people here to fill those jobs. Are the people here going to actually fill those jobs? This is a lot of questions we need to ask. All the way up, Delaware. I was up in Delaware a couple of months ago. There were people that were saying, they're all coming, it's a nice farm. They have to widen little streets to get from A to B there. In 4 Oaks, they don't have the outlet you have here. I told them, I said, they're going to take away our houses through eminent domain when they put the stuff all the way around. We got to have a plan. Church Street and Baker Street, how are they going to get through? They're going to build so many houses on the west side. How are they going to get there to 95 and 40? They got to widen 301. They're going to put roundabouts all over 701. And I don't know what they're doing there at 95 exit. Y'all been to 95 exit? Seen those trees that's been cut down? I like to have cried. It looks like, and I'm not going to say it in here. Y'all know what I'm going to say. It's exactly what it looks like. And these towns don't look nice when you cut down all the trees and all you got is flooding. They talk about flooding. And they talk about all the money that goes to Wake County, Raleigh. They got all this money. They're fixing to raise taxes again. The average tax, they're fixing to raise, they want to raise it, I think it's from 27 to 31, something like that, or about $500, $600 more per household, average. And who is this alliance? And I got one question, and maybe Mr. Tart can answer this. Tart, I'm sorry, I get nervous. How, didn't they reappoint a commissioner up there? I might be wrong. And isn't he in the alliance? Some employee or something? Something to do with the alliance? I'm not sure what it was. You might have to straighten me out on that. But just research that. Yeah, I just don't get where they're appointing people who are tied in with contractors, not just any particular town, contractors and developers and realtors and whatever. They're all getting on the boards, county boards, and a lot of their they might have good hearts and trying to do the right thing, but what are we doing? And if we can get out of it, that's great, I guess. And I don't even know who these people are. Why aren't they here? That's a good question. Where are they at? They didn't show their face. It's so important. They want your money. If I wanted $55,000 from you, I'd be here. I'd want to meet them. Anyway, I got a lot more to say, but that's about all. I get nervous when I speak up, and I know you know that. But anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else want to come forward?
I'm Larry Wood, live at 4536 NC 50 South in Benson. I want to thank all of you for this opportunity to express something I've always felt about this town. I'm not a speaker, so don't, just bear with me. It's ironic I'm here tonight. I hadn't been to a meeting in this place since the very meeting on this very subject in 21 that Jim's talking about. And I didn't know this was going to be discussed tonight. I thought I'd come see what was going on in the subdivisions. But I'm going to tell you people something. I've lived here for 75 years. In 2021, I'm with you, Will. That was a terrible, terrible thing. You're right, it had a lot. Now, you say there's been changes in it, and the changes you say have been made were some of the terrible things about it. But Jim asked some good questions. This is Benson, and we got the crossroads. We got the water. You know what else we got? We got a quaint little community. Every once in a while, we pack up when we get a vacation and travel 200, 300, 400, 700 miles to go to somewhere that ain't loaded with traffic, ain't loaded with big business, to get away from it. We got an opportunity to kind of be that place. We ain't got to be like Raleigh. I agree. We get up every morning and we drive to Raleigh. But But they've got the traffic. They've got the problems. They've got the high tax increases this year, and they're going to have worse. But I'm going to tell you something, all of you. I want to tell you, well, you might be interested in this, really. Benson's major problem is the people. The people that own the property here don't want development growth. I know. I own a little property around here, and I've turned down astronomical prices for it. I'm not the only one. A man walked out of here tonight that offered me nearly $1 million for 0.51 acres, but 0.51. November. Texted me yesterday. Told me then. He said, if you change your mind, if you go up on your price, let me know. He texted me yesterday, and I just texted him back, no change. Joe Bird come down here from West Virginia, looking land for AutoZone out here. Joe told me himself, come to talk to me. I told him point blank, I said, Joe, you probably don't want to buy the property here. It's high priced. 2 weeks later, he comes back to me and he says, Larry, I'm going back to West Virginia. He says, I can buy land in downtown Charlotte cheaper than I can buy in Benson, North Carolina. I just happen to have known, the reason that advance is where it's at. I knew the situation the man was in because it hadn't been a long come to me, and I said, go see this man. You and him both might benefit. And he come back later and told me, he said, we did a good deal. He said, but I can't understand how the people in Benson love this land so good. And that's it, boys. We love this land. I offered a man last 3 weeks ago, a man that I had sold some property to 7 years ago. He had built this property in a right nice place 8 years ago. Hadn't spent a lot of money on it, a lot of work. I offered him 3.5 times what he paid me for it. Because he's in a bind. I just more or less wanted to help him. He's got some fine property. He says, Mr. Wood, ain't no amount of money when it just comes to money that can buy this place. He said, this is home to me. He said, I love Benson. He said, when I come here, I made up my mind. He said, I will never leave here. Another point's been made here tonight. Why do we pay somebody else with $5? Benson has, what we need is someone that knows the property of Benson, and more important, knows the people. Matt Zapp was as fine a fellow as I've ever worked with in my life and worked his tail off trying to, but you know what? Matt knew business. Matt knew how to tie people together, but Matt didn't know the people. He didn't know the people of Benson. He didn't know who owned the property. Matt told me one day, this may be a lie, but he said we could have probably had a big place of rooms to go in done. He said, but we couldn't put together 200 contiguous acres over here like they did. Well, they didn't put together that kind of acres. They put together 132 over there. But Matt don't know the people. Ruby Wood owned 82 acres right here side of 95 between here and the new bridge. I own land out there. Shorty Bird's crew owned land out there. Pete Bird owned land. Fred Jones' crew. All around on a dead-end road. Now, we had Matt known. Matt could put it. Matt didn't know the land. He didn't know the people, but he would work himself to death for this town. Why don't we hire somebody local? I know it takes a special person to do that. But people, I'm going to tell you, and the alliance may be good. Apparently it has changed a lot. But why do we need somebody to tell us what to do with the land in Benson? If there's no revenue share, which I was very strongly against that back then too. But why do we need, I understand, they can represent us better, they get more opportunity. They probably fly a bigger flag, but you know, if we hire a man, he represents us. And he comes back and tells you what he's found. If you don't want it, you're in control of this man. in this alliance, who's in control. And at one time, in the last, what bothered me more than about anything else, I think the people that control this alliance, who appointed them? You remember that?
This board. This board appoints one commissioner, and then the town manager from the town and the sitting mayor from the town, and then there's one private person that's appointed by this board to make.
And that's been a great change from the previous time.
The previous bylaws had if somebody resigned, then the alliance board got to choose
Right.
a replacement, from what I understand.
But anyhow,
But, I mean, I'm not pro or con, I'm just telling you what I've been told, is that from what I understand, all of that's changed now, that all the decisions come back to whoever.
Well, you know, I'm not pro or con, but I do want to understand. I want the people to know. I want every one of you to know. 'Cause I sit with boys at breakfast and that, and we talk. Boys that's got land, the boys that's got money. They're not as interested in money as they are living in Benson. They're not as interested in money as they are keeping the family land together. And they will sell. They would sell land. I would sell land. But not to, I'm specific about what I sell to. I mean, I just don't. Another problem you got with the situation is the government. I sold a piece of land right here in town for a board within the last 3 months. DEQ turned them down. DEQ has got good points, but sometimes they can be very unreasonable. I had people out of Charlotte, this 85-acre tract you got hanging right yonder. And the last 6 months, I've dealt with people out of Charlotte on that land. I went to see the people on that land about that. I don't know who they were working with. But I didn't really think they would sell that land. I don't know what they sold that land for, but, you know, the people I was representing out there was offering $400,000 for an acre. People in Benson love their land. I mean, and I know you all mean well for the town of Benson. Y'all have changed. I mean, for the last 15 years, I've changed my mind about you people a lot. I mean, you're better people than, right there says a lady. She is for the poor people of Benson. And when I wouldn't have voted for her, I'd have voted for her any time she ever runs. Because the only times I've ever been, and the things I listened to, what she said in the paper. Y'all changed my opinion of the Benson commissioners a lot. I'll be honest with you. And it's for a great positive that I feel that way towards every one of you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the time.
Anyone else want to come forward?
Okay. I have a email that I need to add to the record for public hearing. She emailed Angie on Saturday, June the 1st. It's Nicole Feliciano. Good morning. I just moved to Benson from New York City, and as you can imagine, it is a completely different environment than what I'm used to, but something I welcome as I have been looking for a slower pace of life for myself and my children and a more small-town feel. The town of Benson has huge potential, and if there are funds to expand and make town and surrounding areas more fruitful, it should be used to better attract businesses to the area. The downtown area of Benson needs a huge facelift. It seems sort of dead area where much is going on, but has such great potential to thrive if it was given a remodel to make it updated but still keep the small town charm. More advertising, summer events, children events are needed. Are these funds also to invest in a proper shopping area that has the stores that a big city would have? You now have to travel at least 20 to 30 minutes to get to those types of shopping centers. Having something similar more nearby would benefit the residents and also those looking to relocate. Please consider using these funds wisely to truly invest in the community and the people who live here. Regards, Nicole Feliciano. And that was all the emails that we got.
Anyone else?
I have one question, Mr. Mayor. If we were to hire our own economic development person, how much would it cost, Kim? What would the starting salary have to be?
Probably over $100,000.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, if we get into the alliance that is strictly industrial, we still have to hire an economic developer to do commercial.
That's not true.
That is true.
It
not
is.
true.
It is.
They told us
They
out of
told
their
us
own
in the
mouth.
meeting.
But there's other ways, the people that were coming here before, that was not commercial.
Understand that, but they told us out of their own mouth, because I was very concerned about that industrial is the only thing. If we get a sheet that wants to come to Benson, it goes through Kim, okay? And she is our economic development person, and she is not an economic development person that is hired by the town. She's hired for a different job.
So
Well-
then you got $155,000.
Well,
The way that it works, according to what I've researched, is that the Alliance does get inquiries about commercial properties. They do.
They buy it for
The-
industrial.
The land developers and everything, they inquire. And then the Alliance forwards that to the particular town where there's been inquiries.
Right.
That's how it works. They do funnel it.
They do.
They do take the
Yeah.
calls.
They will funnel it, yes.
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 We're speculating, there's no one here to tell us what it is.
and that's exactly right. Now, do we not have a county, economic advisor? The last time I remember, Benson was in Johnson County. But do we get anything from it? All right, then. No, we don't.
I close the public hearing. We'll now move down to presentation of the 24-25 budget fee and schedule calendar.
Can we take like a 2-minute break?
Huh?
Can we take a 2-minute break, please? Thank you.
5-minute break. You were on. Kayla.
You're fine. It's the opposite of the way it's spelled. I'm used to it. So now that everybody has had a chance from last week to look over the proposal and that I've had a chance to meet with some of you and field some questions, I've made some updates to the presentation for clarification. So we're just going to go through this, and then if it's up to y'all if you would like me to go through this, and then we can take all the questions at the end, or if there's something pressing and you guys want to take a moment to talk about it, we will just go how you guys see fit. So, okay.
And what are you doing?
I'm just going to go back through. I made some updates to the presentation from last time for some more clarification for some areas where there were questions that I received over the past couple weeks. So I was going to go back through and just make some clarification on last presentation. And then if anybody has questions, we can discuss those if there are any after this. So as Kim mentioned, there are still no proposed changes to the 59-cent tax rate. Benson's valuation as of May 15th was $409,987,329. So 1 penny is at $40,998.73. So fiscal year 25's projection is currently $2,418,925.24 per the 59-cent $100 valuation. Out of that 59 cents, fiscal year 25 proposal has 22 cents going to general government, 16 cents going to police, the 12 cents going to fire, 2 cents to culture, which is the library and museum, and then, correct, and 7 cents to recreation. So, oh, sorry, wrong screen, wrong mouse. Next, the budget message. There were essentially no changes here. We just included it in the presentation. The one update, I did pull tax figures, actuals as of yesterday. Tax collection for the town was $2,238,685.24. So at this time, that's a $129,012.14 increase over fiscal year 23 totals. And we still have, what is it, the 11th? So roughly 2.5 weeks more collection in the fiscal year. Correct. And we still have 13th period after that. So we are seeing an increase already with the tax, 59 cents from last year. Let's see. Again, with the letter, there's no changes to the proposed 1.5 merit. The same 6 positions are proposed in the budget for your approval. And the fee schedule is where I added the majority of the slides towards the end of the presentation to go over, because it seemed to be like there were inquiries in that area. So let's get to the fun part. The fee schedule in an entirety was printed last time. There has been no substantive changes to that fee schedule. As a whole, as I mentioned before, the fee schedule needs to be looked at in its entirety. The changes that I am proposing right now are things that we need to continue operations for next year, or the immediate needs where the current cost of service is not being met by the fees we are charging. The only increase that is being proposed that does not have its own separate slide is an increase for Parks and Recreation for the 6 and under youth sports registrations. Those fees were just a $5 increase each for residents and non-residents alike, bringing those to $25 for residents and $40 for non-residents. Again, that is in the fee schedule packet. I just didn't make a separate slide for that one. So we touched on a little bit of this earlier for the utility billing. So for residential on-demand services, there is a proposed deposit increase for level 2 and level 3 credit rating deposits. Those are currently the level yellow and level red. Level 2 water and sewer has a proposed increase, $10 to $50 each, and level 3 has an increase from $20 to make them $100 each. There's also an increase to the level 3 additional meter, which was either an irrigation meter if somebody has a barn, and an additional electric meter. Those will increase $12.50 to $62.50 total. Again, these are just the deposits for people to come in and start service. The next one is the meter tampering fee. That is a jump on that one. It is increased to $300. Again, that is to discourage people tampering with, cutting the seals on the meters, trying to reconnect the meters on their own. And we did also add for meter tampering, if there is an issue with the meter after someone has tampered with it, we did simply add that there is the cost to replace the meter. So if someone was to tamper with the meter, they would just be charged replacement cost if we had to replace the meter. As we spoke about earlier, the temporary service poles that were brought up, you mainly think about those during mule days. It's the poles put up for the vendors. If you're doing construction, that temporary pole. It currently is a cut in $35, a cut off $35. To streamline that process, we are proposing a one-time $100 fee when you initiate service for that temporary meter. You still will continue to pay usage on the same rate, but as opposed to the separate fees, and to align ourselves with the municipalities around us, $100, a one-time charge for that temporary pole is what we're seeing around us. Yeah. Let me make one quick interjection on the temporary poles. It is a lot of, obviously there's a lot of construction going on right now, but temporary poles, and specifically this was created because of mule days for the cut on and the cut off. And you're keeping in mind that we might be cutting them on Sunday before mule days and cutting them off the Monday after mule days. So that's literally on for a week, and we're rolling a truck to cut it on and we're rolling a truck to cut it off. Or we're using manpower to do those two actions. And the base fee is prorated. So I know you look at the fee schedule and you say, will you get, a $29 base fee? We do not. It's prorated. So if they're only there 5 days, then we're only going to get $5 worth of that base fee. So it's really kind of covering that back and forth. Yes, sir.
I got a question, because you just said that you have to roll a truck out there to cut it on and cut it off. Are they not cut on and off?
Well, and that's why I caught myself or said, or the work for somebody to do it. Yeah, because most of our, if not all of our mule day poles are AMI, so they're done in the office, but it's the management of Crystal getting in there and doing it. So, but they're only staying on for a week, so you're not getting that full base fee either. So you're kind of making up for what you're lacking there as well. So just let me make that little point.
Other municipalities, they have AMI?
Did they?
I can tell you, Dunn don't.
Can give you the one
Dunn served by
I
Duke
can't give
Energy.
you whether they're AMI or not. Kim might be able to.
Dunn doesn't have.
Yeah, Dunn's done by Duke.
Dunn doesn't have electric. They have Duke. I want to say if she looked at, Selma's in the process of converting to AMI, and Smithfield are AMI already. Those are two of the ones that she looked at. Anger would be Duke, so that wouldn't be a good example.
On top of an inspection fee.
The inspection goes to
Yeah, I know.
inspections, this goes to electric or water sewer. Anything else on that one? Okay. Let me get back to where we were. And again, as we spoke of earlier already, the last one for utility billing was that after hours reconnection from $70 to $100. And again, that is solely after hours. It does state from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday is the normal reconnection fee. This was, again, in no way trying to purposefully penalize anybody. It was, again, just aligning us with the municipalities around us.
Is that fee charged the same for the customer if they're a regular monthly customer versus a prepaid customer?
Prepaid is
So if they're struggling and they go on our prepay service, then they don't have a reconnection fee if they run out of prepay?
The only thing they have to do for prepay is there's a minimum of $10 that they have to pay. So keep in mind, prepay only disconnects Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning. We do one disconnect a day. So if it's Friday at 10 o'clock, we've already done disconnects. They actually they'll stay on until the following Monday. So they have from Friday to Monday to come in and pay. If they get disconnected, or to pay online, yeah. If they get disconnected, say they get disconnected for $5 in the negative, then they have to pay $15 to get reconnected, because what they want to do is you pay your negative and then you have money still to kind of like build upon to turn it back on.
So there's an option, and the customer has the right to choose whether they want to be prepay or billed monthly.
Absolutely, yes. And keep in mind too, if you're prepay, you do not pay a deposit. Right. So if somebody comes in and they say, I already know my credit is not good, and that's what she's talking about when she refers to levels. Some years ago, we went to credit checks, and so you have a green level, which means you have probably an immaculate credit score. You have a yellow, which means you're mediocre, and then you have a red, where it means you have bad credit. It also is pulling if you've left another utility that is within our group that we're pulling credit checks with. So like Duke Energy is one that you see often where it says they owe money. So that's where your levels come in. So obviously if you're red, your deposit's higher. If they come in and they say, I already know that I have bad credit, then we're gonna automatically like talk to them about prepay. And that's usually the choice they go with.
So is it a anytime choice? So if I'm a customer and I get laid off from work or get shorter hours and I have paid a deposit, can I come in and roll that deposit toward prepay?
Yes. Okay. We can apply the deposit.
Does everybody know that?
Well, we try to tell people, yeah, that was, I mean, that.
Well, maybe that's something we might need to clarify and explain to people.
Yeah,
because
we absolutely can.
I mean, everybody is not on prepay.
Right, and
some of the people that's struggling are definitely not on it.
And
might need to be on it.
And if some people come in and say, I don't want to be on prepay, but I don't have the deposit right now. So can I put money towards the deposit, and then when I can switch to traditional, can I go to traditional? And we'll say, absolutely. So they'll come in and say, I want to pay $100 today, maybe put $25 towards the deposit and $75 towards my bill. And we can do that too.
There's no rate difference, so there's
no rate.
benefit to being on either one or the
There's
other.
no,
It's whatever works for your
there is
budget,
no
right?
difference. Yeah, it's just whatever works for your budget. And you can come in and make as many payments as often as you want to. We have some that, kind of know what they use every month, and they might come in once a month. You have some that come every day. It's entirely up to them.
How much
Kim,
is,
go ahead, Matt.
if the after-hours reconnection fee is 70, how much is the during-hours reconnection?
35, right? I had it pulled up. Hold on, it's right here in front of me. $30. So it's $30 automatically if you are on the list.
Monday through Friday, is that?
9 to 4.
Yeah.
Is what's currently on there. That also.
But if they come in at 5, we don't charge. This is literally after 5 o'clock that they get paid the additional $100.
Go home, come back.
Right. Yeah. And I think I've been pretty lenient. I know Angie's been lenient on call. Like if it's keep in mind, we do not, if it's a water, sewer, and electric customer, we will not cut off the water on the first day. We will cut the electric off first, because typically that's what's going to get somebody's attention. Okay? So if it's that first day and they have all services, then they typically still have water, but they don't have electric. She usually sends that like the next day. So we in the finance department take and help with call. We try to alleviate anybody having to come back. So when that first call comes through, we'll answer it. And if they say, hey, I forgot, I just made my payment, we're going to be somewhat lenient. I mean, I can probably count on a hand how many I've actually, charged. And Kayla's probably rolling her eyes at me, and so I'm not going to look at her. But And I know that's not something we should do, but we do try to take into consideration, like, some people just made a mistake and they forgot.
When I did on call, if it's something that you can cut on remote, I didn't.
You didn't charge. Mhm.
Because we're doing it from my laptop at home. I don't care if it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. If they pay, I'll say, I can do it remote. I'll get your service back on within the next 30 minutes. If it's not, call me back. I never
Yeah.
charged them.
I don't think I did.
So when can you not do it remote?
When it's water.
There's a few electric meters
Yeah.
that are not remote, and you would have to send.
But no water is remote, so you have to go to the water meter.
But I'm talking about if you can do it remote, then what's the purpose of adding the extra fee?
Well, and that's what she's saying. We typically don't if we're doing
You got
it.
it written in here.
Yeah.
Proposed sin.
Yeah.
Okay,
But that's always, and keep in mind, that's always been there. That's not something that she's added just in this. The fee's gone up, but it was 70, but she's not saying like she's adding this. What I'm saying is practice typically is if it's if it's just electric and they've paid their bill and I don't have to send somebody out there, we usually just cut them back on. If you have to roll a truck, is typically when we'll charge it.
So, and policy's you, right? But I mean, if we've got a traditional customer who's on the cutoff list and they got deposit, do we not have the power to automatically switch into prepay and just notify them, say, hey, we just rolled your deposit, you're now on prepay until you can pay that deposit back and switch back to traditional?
We could do
That way
that.
nobody loses power and water and we still got our bases covered financially.
We
right?
could, and we need to go back and look at the customer service policy, because I want to say that was a proposal. I think that was the proposal, and I just said, I don't think Crystal's like holding everybody to that wholeheartedly, but that's something we absolutely could do. Some people don't like to be told they have to go to prepay, but, I mean, if they're a habitual disconnect, then it's, yeah, yeah.
Choose your poison.
Yeah.
How often is it the very same ones, month after month?
Pretty often.
Is it because they can't afford it, or is it because we're the last thing on the list? I mean,
I
they
can't
come
answer
up
that.
and pay, they come up and turn right around and pay a penalty to have it cut back on, and it's the very same ones?
A lot of times it is. And let me say this too. With the staff that we have, they work really hard not to cut people off. You know, they're calling, especially if they've never been on the list before, they're calling these customers. They're they're doing everything they can to get these payments before they actually cut it off.
But what kind of percentage is that? I'm talking about the ones
that are
month after month after month, the same thing. Is it because they can't afford it? If they can't afford it, then they're not going to be able to whatever the penalty is. If it goes to $100.
Yeah. I would say we average probably 40 cutoffs a month. Glenn, help me out. 40 a month. Maybe 10 are habitual. Every month, 10 to 15. And I wish I could tell you I know every single one right now. I'm not up there every day to tell you who these customers are. I know when I was there every day, I think sometimes you kind of had a toss up of they couldn't really afford it because if they're coming in and DSS is paying for it after it's been disconnected, and that's something to remember too. Like sometimes DSS will not give until they have been cut off. So you have that customer who they can't afford it because they're waiting for DSS, and then you have the customers who were probably at the bottom of the list.
Well, I think that as far as DSS, any kind of organization like that, my dealings with them, I think what our problem is that we're not, when the bill's due, you have 10 days and you cut off, right?
It's due the 22nd, and they get a late fee, and then it's the last day to pay is the 29th, and it's cut off as the 30th.
What we do, they have to have that physical notice that we're going to be shutting off this date.
So
it's already past that, and then they'll pledge without even getting it cut off.
So that physical date is on your bill every single month. So she types it on there. She says, last day to pay is this date. Disconnections are this date.
But I think
so that's on there.
They're not looking
Oh.
Say like if they're current, they know they can't pay it, even though it says by that date, they ain't seeing the past due on it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, but the bill has the past due amount, like it has what it is after the due date with the late fee. Now, but DSS is gonna call and verify. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's due the 20th.
22nd.
I'm current on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So 20 say it's due.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so no past due amount.
Mm-hmm.
30th, 1st, 2nd, I don't pay it, my water shut off. There is no past due amount on my bill.
Mm-hmm. DSS.
That's where the issue lies with DSS and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and they'll call and verify.
Yeah.
They will call and say, here's the account number, tell me how much they owe. And we have to give them a breakdown, because they also don't pay, they only pay electric.
So do they pay those late fees?
How we've always done it is we take the total of the bill, we subtract out electric, and we tell them what the remainder is, and the customer has to come in and pay that. So sometimes we'll say, do you want the late fee added? But typically, the customer has to pay water, sewer, and garbage. DSS typically only pays electric.
I still think it would be a good idea to go back and look at the switch to prepaid. That would keep our staff from having to come in on their days off for this mess.
I can look at it.
And if they've got a deposit on hand.
Yeah, we can definitely start enforcing it.
And in terms of everything she just said, it was the exact same way when I was here 10 years ago. And in regards to your question about the reason the habitual people get cut off, I can tell you that I've looked at a recent disconnection list and the same names were on it from when I was here 10 years ago. And I know personally that one particular person just forgets to pay it every month. Again, that's not everybody, right? But there are some people who...
Well, I knew it was an ongoing problem. It was 15 years ago when we looked at it. And what was happening is these people that had homes that were renting these homes and moving out without a deposit and leaving all the utilities on, and then the homeowner would come up to us and say, I'm not paying this. I had a renter, and he was gone, and he didn't have a deposit. We talked about these very same things, that they were not getting enough deposit to cover when they left, if they left in the middle of the night.
And we've changed a lot of that.
Yeah? Well,
So the problem when Kayla was here and when I started was you got a bill, say you got a bill for the month of May, or you got a bill May 1st, and it was really for like the month of March. Our billing time was 45 days behind. And so by the time you cut them off and then they already had it, you had a final bill, all that, it was a long process. So that's been changed. That's been fixed. That was fixed when we got AMI. Now you get a bill on the 5th of June, and it was for May 1st through May 31st. So literally the month cuts off, and that is all Crystal does for the first 3 days of the month is pulling reads down and getting the bills out. She has 5 days to turn it around for the entire town. So there's not that 45-day lag time anymore. And also, our deposits went up. That's when we went to credit checks. That's when you had, a red deposit, if it's all services, is $600. So that should cover the bill. And then whatever doesn't cover, we're sending to debt set off. And she's sending to debt set off every single month. And we've been doing that habitually, so we are seeing more return for debt set off.
I understand that we're not in this to make money.
No, we're in it to cover our costs.
Break
Yes.
even, and we're not breaking even. And with these increases, I want everybody to understand, I am getting the biggest hit on our increases on our utilities by owning a laundry mat service. And I've already run the figures as far as if this is approved, what it's going to cost me per month. I understand you've got to break even. We are so far behind on our utilities. That's why we're having to pay more to catch up. It's not making money. it's just covering our butt right on through.
My concern with that though is, from way out, there's a shortfall in this budget, and we're increasing these rates to meet that shortfall.
Without
right?
increasing taxes. Yeah.
Without increasing taxes. But when we met back in March, is that when we did our retreat?
Yeah.
We put that right there on the board, and that's what concerns me, and that's what all this discussion is about tonight. And I wish somebody gave you a playbook when you did this mess, because you got to make a decision, and do we go after industry and try to increase taxes, or do you increase it on the residents? And the residents don't want to pay more, but they want to get the same level of service, and that's not obtainable. And so out of this budget, how are we improving our infrastructure? How are we paving the roads that are dirt right now that we're riding? I mean, I might as well go back to a mule and wagon in some of the streets around town. And we're not charging enough across the board in taxes and rates to be able to make any improvements to the town. And if we continue this revenue neutral train, all we're doing is putting a Band-Aid while the town continues to deteriorate around us. And so I'm trying to figure out, how are we investing in our public personnel? I just counted 15 or 17 vacancies on this sheet that's sitting on this table. Are those salaries here going to be good enough in the next 12 months to be able to fill those vacancies if we can't fill the 15 we've got right now? And if not, then we're not putting enough money into this budget by either raising taxes or increasing the fees more. And I don't want to come up short and next year be 20 or 25 people short and still have dirt roads. And so where do we find that median? And are we meeting those objectives with this budget? And I feel like we're just getting by. I feel like we've gotten by for the past 20 years, and we've not done anything to invest in improving.
Well, we increased taxes last year by 4 cents.
But we're still the 6th on the list in the county in the tax rate.
We are. And listen, if y'all tell us today, increase taxes, we'll go back and do that. But we have a reevaluation next year, so we were trying to avoid increasing taxes a second year in a row, knowing that reevaluations were coming up in the next budget cycle. And we're probably not going to be revenue neutral in that.
Tonight was $55,000. $55,000 wouldn't pave that parking lot.
No, it would not.
By the time we put set-up fees and everything else to get somebody
It
here. So
would absolutely not.
$55,000 paving anything, I think we had $200 and something thousand left. I think we did $200 and something $1,000 in paving last year.
And it got you like 2 roads.
And nobody saw it, right?
Yeah.
And nobody saw any results of
Yeah.
us spending that money because they're still not satisfied.
No.
And so, and we still are losing. I mean, where are we at on the fire engineer position that is vacant? Have we got any applications in on that? I don't know. I mean, I just know that we've got a vacancy there.
We have.
They did their agility tests today, correct?
Okay,
And we
okay.
have interviews Thursday.
I just worry looking at these, and I know salaries are a sore subject because a lot of people that live in this town think, oh God, you make a lot of money. But when you look at what you can go to other salaries around us for, y'all really don't. And so I'm trying to figure out, how do we get those objectives? And I know that it's not a popular opinion, but I'm willing to pay more to get more, because that's what I want Benson to be. Whether that means we invested in the Alliance, or I don't care if we go put $55,000 in a high-yield CD for 12 months to get interest off of it. Somehow or another, we've got to increase revenue, because getting by is not going to do anything but leave us with a ghost town. Right? And I just want to make sure that we're having that conversation amongst us, because I know that we like the word revenue neutral, but that's not possible with the inflation rates that we're living in right now. And that's why we're looking at industry. And if we're not going to go for industry, then we're going to raise taxes. And that's where I'm at, right? So if we're not going to try to bring in more income, then we're going to tax the hell out of the people who live here so they can live on their farm and still have paved roads, because that's the options, right? So that's where I am tonight about the budget, about the Alliance. I don't know that the Alliance is the answer. I'm not for or against it. I'm confused because I'm really ticked off that somebody won't here to present to me from the Alliance tonight. And I made that known last week. And so, but at the end of the day, somehow or another, more revenue has to come into this town, because I look at this as a business. And if we don't run it like a business, we've all saw in the past 6 months, we're going to not be here. I'm off my soapbox.
We gotta remember those numbers in the fee schedule though are gross, and they're gonna be, a lot of people will be on the phone saying, what in the world did y'all
We're,
do?
we're subsidizing by increasing fees instead of raising taxes. The only thing we're doing is making it à la carte. We're making, hey, if you want a laundromat, we're gonna make you pay more than if you want a eye doctor. Because instead of raising taxes and taking the burden on everybody.
These fees,
No, it's-
these fees don't have anything to do with
It's,
that.
that's right, it's across the board for commercial. We're not
Unless you're
doing,
handing use.
well, yeah, we're not doing the same, we're not doing the same with residential.
Right, right.
And yeah, I use a lot of water, and I don't use as much electricity as he does, but we're not breaking even on this. That's why we can't. I mean, the lady was right, she stands up and says, yeah, we need another police officer. Well, we do. Well, why does Smithfield, why can they give a $10,000 bonus? Well, we're Benson, you're gonna have to say, well, I just want to be a part of it, and if you don't, we said that a year ago, this is a catch-22. Just because we brought our salaries up for the police department, we said right then, it's not gonna last, because what happened? 30 days later, Clayton went up, Selma went up, 6 months later, now we're right back down, and we don't have the industry that Clayton's got, we don't have the industry that Smithfield's got. I said, where they get their money? Hey, they got a deficit of money because they have got more industry that has pulled in. Housetops, rooftops does not do anything except cost a small town.
Agreed.
I mean, you have to have them, but rooftops do not, a subdivision does not pay the town of Benson. I don't care if it's in it, because everybody that comes in, they're gonna have 2 children, and we've got to have all the amenities to them, and people are sitting out there and says, well, you know, why don't we have school systems like they do in Clayton? Because we can't put the money in it. I know we're part of Johnson County, but it's different. It's different when they've got millions of dollars coming in, and we've got a budget of 18 million, and we can't hardly make ends meet off of it. And then you get to the end, and you've got electrical. They've got to have the equipment to do these things, and the police department has got to have equipment and vehicles to do these things. I mean, everybody is cut to the bone. The fire department, we're just tickled to death that we have got an alliance, and that's what it is that's coming in from the county to pay for these fire services of 3 firemen coming up. But we're not gonna do anything if this is approved until September. It'll give us a little time to get money, more money coming in. But the town does not have that money in every department. The electrical department does not have that gift of, what, $18,000 a month that's coming into the fire department budget to help do this, and that is part of the county alliance to do that.
You know, I was watching TV, just the news, and they had a Raleigh city councilman talking. And they said that it's costing way more to provide the same services now. So that means right now that's true, and that means it's gonna cost way more to provide the same services next year and the year after and the year after that. And I wanna know it's gonna keep going up. Another thing too is, Teresa wanted to check on solar, see like doing the solar thing. And so we did, and the guy, we saw how much it was, and when we break even, and all that stuff, you know, and, but he said that's if the rates stay the same, and here's these studies that are showing that rates are, for utility rates are gonna double within the next 2 or 3 years for everybody. And I think I think he's one made up, I think it's true.
We're giving it all to cars.
Yeah, so we gotta know that our financial deal is not just try to get through this moment and get through this 6 months and go, whoo. We're gonna keep facing it. It's gonna be a bigger monster come back out there every time.
I mean, and correct me on the figure, and I don't want to, but how much did you say the Alliance has in the bank account right now? 80 million?
About $100 million.
$100 million that's sitting there earning interest right now. That was given by state and federal governments that ought to be putting something in the road or something on top of the roads, right? And that's what concerns me. And if they're gonna continue to funnel that money through them, we'll never have a shot at getting it. We'll never have a shot at getting it. And that's what they're trying to tell us, right? And I'm not saying I agree with it. I think it's bad business, right? I mean, but at the end of the day, they don't wanna pick winners and losers. Right, and if they can say that we threw this money in southern Johnson County and it helped Harnett County or Sampson County or whoever, then the more people it helps, the more we're willing to give.
And they told me this directly, but you know too that if I'm a legislator and I go and I'm gonna say, I wanna get $1,000 for Benson, or I wanna get $1,000 for this regional group right here that's the worry is that they picked us to grow. They've labeled our area, which we're in the middle of, as a growth area, and we need to keep fostering that. The other thing that really scares me is if the counties join, which is what my understanding of the plan is, it's going to be those towns and 3 counties that we're in are close by. We are going to be isolated.
Kim, what is your plan schedule-wise between now and the end of June on the budget?
In regards to a plan, we will go back and make any changes that you all see fit. We have presented, if everybody can come to an agreement and everybody wants to vote, that's fine. If not, we can put in a different special session if we need to. We can wait until the final session to vote. It does have to be approved by the 30th. So that really is up to y'all at this point. What more does everybody need to hear? What do you want to see changed? What are your propositions for us to look at changing? We can just open this up to the discussion at this point.
So what about trash? Because last meeting we were talking about getting billed $3,000, $4,000 more than previous. There have been 2 months of it, and nobody knew what the money was billed for.
Yeah.
Found out what it's billed.
So yeah, to William's point, these fee increases are just to cover costs right now. This isn't to.
Is that what our contract states for them? Because our contract states with a 3% increase at a certain dollar amount, correct?
So, hold on, I can tell you the figures. Our current costs are, we're currently charging $25.14 a month, right? Just for residential, on a 28-day month, we are being charged $29. We are being charged. We are charging $25. That's before tax. And again, GFL does this on a 28-day month. They are prorating for the 30 and 31-day months.
Y'all needed a contract.
So we're $4 in the hole.
On every can.
Off the bat.
Have we
And that's just residential. Commercial dumpster sites are far worse. And so we don't have an answer. I can tell you that we've already put, Jay's working on the proposal to get the packet out for bid for when this comes up for renewal in December. But currently, Irwin is increasing 7 cents. They are charging their customers $7.92 for a 90-gallon garbage container with GFL. Our rate from GFL, from our customer service representative, is double that amount, what we are being charged. So you're right, it's the same service from the same company.
Have we looked at the contract? Because the contract, when it first started, gave a certain dollar amount with a 3% increase, so it wouldn't be hard to do the math on it and see what that dollar amount, what they should be charging us. Because I think they're overcharging us.
How old is this contract? I don't know the date, because, so that's the other thing. That's a lot of reasons people are 2019. So if they put that proposed increase in every year, and I haven't read the verbiage, do you know whether it's a minimum, and then I would assume they also have a discretion to increase for inflation? I think we've been in this contract so long, whereas these newer towns, that's why a lot of people are doing 3-year max contracts, because, you know, back in the day, you'd do a 10, 15-year contract with a minimum increase in it, and you would get stuck at this rate. And I can't say for certain that that's how we ended up here. I just know currently that is where we are. And again, this contract is set to end in December, so we're going to go back and clearly get other options. But this increase right now is solely to cover the basis between now and then.
2 or 3 months where they increased.
Based on the last, probably, few months.
Right, and this is per
But it might
email
be
from
something
our
on their
representative.
end- It might be something on their end, and we want to raise trash by $9 for something that they shouldn't be charging us.
We can go back.
That's my issue with it.
Well, we've got a budget that's coming up by the 30th.
Yes.
Okay, there's so many issues that they have not had a chance to get into that's been brought to this table that they have got to look at as soon as we get this budget done. Electric cities, we're paying them $10,000 extra every single month. Okay, cut that out and let electric cities pay the Alliance $60,000 a year, and we won't pay them, okay? I mean, electric cities, GFL, air insurance. When is air insurance for this town due? Kayla, Kim, when is air insurance, air base policy on this town with all air buildings due?
Hold on 1 second.
Jay said I didn't sign up to wait for all this.
Well, understand that, but I'm saying, once this budget gets approved, we have got to look at some things because our insurance. When somebody tells me that the thousands of dollar damage that we have got is not gonna be approved because our insurance company comes in and says, well, it's not a leak in the roof. Bullshit. It comes down from the roof when it rains, and we need to look and see what's covered and what's not covered. GFL. I brought this up because my bill was $286. I had a signed contract with them for $130 when I started. I said, what is the town's? And then we start looking at that. I'm saying, tonight isn't the time, but just as soon as we get our budget squared away in the next 15 days, we have to have it approved.
I get that, but I asked about this last meeting. There's been charges of up to $4,000, and nobody knows why.
Okay, so to answer your question, buildings, our renewal on insurance is in October,
Okay,
and workers' compensation is in July.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Dennis Moore is not.
Yeah, we are. I'm trying to.
Go back to the trash.
Trying,
We're
I was
bouncing
trying to
around
answer
on
that,
two
but
topics,
that's
right?
to answer that question.
And furthermore, we need to decide based on our income and our deficits. July 1st? We don't even have to provide trash. You're a county daggone resident. You can go take your trash to the dump
that's
for
a
free.
consideration as
That's
well.
$500,000. We can go pave streets tomorrow. You want to give away your trash cans? We can go pave streets, right? So which is more important to the residents? I don't know. I'm just asking. That's an option, because I mean we pay our 69 cents to the county just like everybody else in the county does. We ought to see something come back for that, because I sure don't see a whole lot, right? And so I mean, realistically, does the town want to be in the trash business?
And again, right.
I mean, I understand
And
that,
again,
but I mean,
just because rates are being increased currently to cover the cost does not mean when we get a new contract, we're not going to go back to the table and fix them to the proper rate with the new contract. There's nothing to say we're banking on increasing these rates and keeping them there forever.
there's
This is
nothing
just to
say
cover
they'll do it for the
operations
same
currently.
rate. There's nothing to say that it won't increase on us.
That's true too.
My thing is, I want to know why it's increased, because February 40,000, March 44,000, that's a big jump.
Well, and we thus far have gotten the same answer Will has when he called about his increase from 130 to, what'd you say, 280, 275.
Then you say, we got a town attorney, I'm gonna refer you to him, he got a contract.
Well, I think they don't charge by, what the answer that I got, and I'm not saying it's correct, this is the answer I got, Dean, is they don't charge every homeowner every trip. I'm horrible for forgetting, I take my cans to the dump, because I'm horrible, because I'm not in town and I forget to roll them out, and we've got a policy that says I can't leave them out on the street anyway. And so I'll get my guys.
Policy's not being.
And so I throw them, but you know, they when they roll up, they charge per what can they pick up. So this month they might pick up 3,000 cans if everybody rolls it out, or 3,800. And then next 2 weeks they may only pick up 2,500 cans.
The way their contract's written is for all 3 cans, assuming all 3 cans.
But they only charge you if they pick it up. They're providing you the can.
Nuh-uh.
That's what I was told.
No, they charge you regardless, because I have been trash pickup before where I've been out of town on vacation. I did not see a reduction in my bill.
We don't reduce your
GFL's not
rate.
charging you.
GFL is adjusting.
Yeah, you're paying the
GFL,
town.
the wholesale bill we get is for what they collect.
Yeah, you're
Correct. They
getting charged.
prorate down to the 7-day period if people add
Yeah.
or pick up.
They charge per can per tonnage. You get
Correct.
the same bill from the town every month, but the town doesn't get the same bill because they're not picking up the same can and tonnage every month. Does that make sense? You're getting retail cost every month. The town gets wholesale.
Is that the
bill.
way our
For all
contract is
urban
written?
consumers, U.S. town average by expenditure category, commodity and service group, water and sewer and trash collection services to CPI.
I can tell you this, that on them, they charge us stuff every month that nobody knows what it is. And if, listen to me, and if we don't get into this stuff and find out what the hell's wrong, we're gonna be broke as a convict. And,
But that's what we got people in place here to do, is to keep up with what's going on. So we'll know. That's what we have personnel for.
oh, you're talking about here?
Yeah, I'm
Well,
talking
I
about
agree
here.
with that,
But
the
if you're
insurance
saying
is-
they don't
we're
know what's
getting
going
skinned
on.
on insurance.
Well, something's wrong.
Do you think we pay electric cities for things that we don't know about?
Evidently.
Pay them the whole quarterly
Evidently.
sessions at the beach and at the mountain. and the
So
casino.
the original GFL contract had weekly trash collection at $13.77. Again, Irwin is currently charging their customers, what did I say?
But what was the increase in the contract?
$7.92.
3%.
So from the initiation of this contract, we already were over what they are charging other municipalities. Again, we weren't responsible for this original contract or the creation of it. We're just having to deal with the problem children of it now until we can terminate it. But clearly, when it was initiated the first time, the garbage cost was exponentially higher than other municipalities around us are being charged. I don't have an answer for why that is.
But I understand the tonnage thing, so if we're billing the customers for all three carts, and then if anybody's got extra, then that's where the extra fee comes in for the extra carts. So why is the extra charge if they're picking up more trash?
There's not a charge per more like weight tonnage garbage. There's some weeks people put all their cans out, some weeks people don't put all their cans
From
out.
what I was told, they charge by the number of cans that they pick up. Is
Right.
what they charge the town.
Right, but we're charging the customers for all three regardless.
Because we have to charge them for worst case scenario.
Yeah, we're charging them for worst case, so we shouldn't be exceeding that worst case
Look,
scenario.
your contract has two, I don't know what they're charging you, because I don't see the bills, but your contract has two clauses for adjustment. Annually, in January 1st, they can adjust based on the consumer price index for all urban consumers, U.S. town average by expenditure category, commodity and service group, water and sewer, trash collecting services 2, whatever that is, some CPI index, every year in January. And in addition, the service fee may be adjusted at any time on 30 days advance notice if such adjustments arise out of changes, direct operational costs related to provision of services over which contractor has no control. For instance, landfill expenses, material processing fees, government regulations, price per gallon of fuel when it exceeds $4 a gallon.
Then they gotta give us notice,
They
right?
have to give you notice that they're changing it. I don't know what they're billing you, but those are the two things they can validly change your price for, other than what Kayla was saying earlier, which is $13.77 for residential MSW, I guess
That's just the garbage can.
just trash, yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, what do you do now? If you're not satisfied with them, you call them and say you're in breach, and they come pick up all their cans, and then we gotta go to the bid. And so then nobody gets trash people. You can't hold them to a price, because they can come and pick up cans next week, and then nobody has any cans. So
They charge us for the cans that they dump in the truck.
So the only thing I can think of is like they're saying, go out to bid and know what we're getting next time, and hope that we get other contractors who are willing to do it at all, if we still want to be in the trash business, right? That's a question. I definitely don't see it, but recycling's cheaper. So I told her, I said, I want 2 recycling cans, because they put that in the same trash truck. That way I just put it on my recycling cans, and they don't charge me for a trash can. Right? And so, but that's.
All right.
Oh, but I'm not supposed to say that.
That's a sore subject.
Oh, no.
Oh, is that a sore subject?
No, that's, Mike confirmed that they do separate it when they go to the,
They run 2 trucks where I live at.
they dump it a lot in the trash truck.
All right.
Now,
They
I've
do.
seen them
They
do
do.
it.
I've seen
We
them dump all
usually
three of
have,
them in the same trucks.
we always have 2, the one that the guys are on the back, guys or girls on the back of it, they get recycling. And then later on, around 1 o'clock, is the one that grab a truck comes.
They dump it a lot. I've talked to them several times about that.
They sure do.
I
So-
still didn't hear what was gonna happen for the next couple of weeks.
So again,
They're waiting on us.
there's options. We can either, we of course know we need to continue to drill down into this. We of course also need to approve a budget. So we can either keep the rates the same and continue to lose money for the next 6 months until we figure it out. We can do a medium increase and hope to recoup some of what our losses are between now and then. Or we can increase them to cover bases currently and then, for lack of a better term, step back and punt when we get a new contract and readjust the fees at that time. You all can make whatever decision you would like there. The amount that is on the sheets currently is to cover the current costs. Again, I'm not disagreeing with you that it needs to be tracked down and chased and figure out, not only with this bill, but a lot of them. And that's not something that we can do, I'm afraid, in the next, right. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying at all, honestly.
I guess the question is does anybody on this board have any direct things that they don't like that's in the budget, that they want to see changed? Because that's the point we're at. We've either got to change it and get it passed by June the 30th, or we pass it like it is and know that we cover our costs at least for the next 6 months until Kayla, is it Kayla or Kayla?
Kayla. It's the opposite of the way it's spelled.
Okay, so I apologize.
You can thank my
You
parents for
don't
that one.
correct me for that. So, but until Kayla gets a chance to track all this down, because she's only been here, what, 60 days? Is that?
If that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's gonna be I think that's the question. I mean, I don't see anything in this budget that I disagree with, other than the fact, I think we're bare boning again, and I don't think the town of Benson is gonna see any benefit other than us just covering our costs. I think that's what we're doing. We are covering our costs, and we're not giving the residents anything. That's the way I look at it, other than what little bit of service they get. They're not getting any streets, they're not getting any more staff, no more police officers. They're getting more firemen, but they're not getting paid by the town. We're getting more firemen because of the
matrix funding
money that is not us, right? And
Right.
so that's what you got to tell the citizens. It's like, you're not getting anything. I'm sorry, we're going to cut it to the bone. And if you want to pave your street, we'll have a Saturday paving party, and everybody can go out there with bags of asphalt and spread it yourself.
I'll tell you, on the LGC, the budget we send them better be cover the charges. Because that's what they're looking for.
You know,
If
this
we
might-
lose money again, then we'll be in jail.
This might not be the greatest idea in the world, it might be dumb, but, I was kind of thinking about, you know, we've had so many instances where, like with electricity, you know, we've got these extra costs that come along, and we gotta eat it. And
We got more coming.
It's always gonna be that way, with everything we face, with trash and everything. So why is it we wouldn't maybe consider charging the customer the wholesale rate and the service fee? So that wholesale rate, if that wholesale rate goes up, they have no bearing on that, that's just wholesale rate.
What you're if you're talking about electric, what you're charging in electric has gotta cover the wholesale plus the staff and the.
Maintenance of the current infrastructure and the grid and.
Well, that's where
You
we
could
have.
put some of it in the service fee money and some of it in the wholesale cost.
Right, and that's where you had a rate study in 2015, and they said, your overhead for electric, you should charge $30 a month, and we reduced it to 15. So, I mean, already back in 2015, we were already behind the 8 ball,
Right.
because we didn't do what it said.
Well, and I'm going to jump forward for a minute. So talking about, of course, the water and sewer increases, those we've seen, it's from the rural water study. It's from the 6% increase we're getting from Johnson County.
Again, Dunn is putting in a 9% across the board increase for their water and sewer. Out of those increases, we are still lower on water sewer base rates and sewer usage. I think that's right. Give me just 1 second. We are behind on 3 out of the 4, and we buy our water from them. And we are charging less at retail than they are. So as William is saying.
They're not going up on wholesale, so.
Correct. Wholesale's not going up. Dunn isn't.
Just retail.
But Dunn is charging their retail customers more than we are in 3 out of 4 categories, and we are buying water from them. So that's just something to think about with these increases.
How much more are they charging?
They're going up 9%
9%.
on retail.
Why is Dunn water worth more than Benson's water if we're buying and serving the same water? If we love our town, we ought to love our water, right?
We're going up 21%.
Yeah, we're going up the rural water plus the 6%, but that also, that also shows how far behind the rates have been. That's the perfect example of
How much is Dunn raising their rate?
9%.
Dunn is not raising the wholesale rate, though.
How much
Retail.
if I live in
Trying to
Dunn?
get confused
Yeah.
How
on
much
what
do
she
I pay
said.
as a customer in Dunn? If I live in Dunn, how much is my water bill rate at my house?
Your base,
9% more than what they're paying right now.
your water and sewer rates respectively are $19.62 and $20.71 is what their proposed rate increases are.
So they're $1.75 more than us.
That's just on the base rates. Their usage rates are going to $5.83 and $8.88 respectively. So the water is where we are over them in usage. Sewer, again, we are under them by 30 cents per 1,000 gallons in usage. So that's just the example of we're buying wholesale and selling, and we're still selling less than other people who are buying from. Now, I wanted to get to electric because talking about covering our bases. So the biggest change right here, we created this large industrial or large general commercial because currently, as you talked about earlier, the Tesla charger, the electric charging, this demand on these systems. So the town currently charges a large commercial customer. This is an example bill. The current left side, it's $52.50 for the base fee. The first 40 kilowatts are $3.50. All additional are $6.95. That's KW demand. And then you have the tiered rate for your kilowatt hours for your usage. That current bill is $11,540.82. If the town were to pay that same bill at our wholesale cost, that bill costs $18,764.11. Because in our commercial is where you're seeing that in the demand. That's why the commercial electric structure has been adjusted so much. Because demand is where you're going to see your biggest charge, because that puts the biggest strain on the infrastructure, on the grid. That's the reason you see those rolling brown and blackouts in your larger municipalities, because when everybody is cutting their AC on first thing when they get home from work, or when everybody is turning everything on first thing in the morning, that pulls so much strain on the entire grid as a whole, they charge us more for that. So we, in turn, have to charge more for that peak demand. So yes, that's a large increase for our large general commercial customers, but those are also the customers where we are currently losing the most money monthly. So again, the fee increases that we are proposing are solely to catch up to baseline.
How many is that going to take?
Roughly 0.22% of our commercial customers.
So had we been increasing gradually over time, would we be at this point now?
I think you haven't had a customer like this, but for a few years to this magnitude.
Because customers in,
Charging station.
0.222% of the total commercial population falls into this category. The vast majority now fall into medium commercial. Now, are there some that were previously in small and did not have to pay demand that now fall into medium and will have to pay that demand charge, so they will see a difference in their bill? As Will stated, he stopped by and we looked at his water, sewer, and electric bills, and he is going to see an increase. But again, that is for us to cover what we are paying for those services. And that doesn't just mean the wholesale costs for water and electric. It means the maintenance and upkeep of our infrastructure, which is something that a lot of people commented on tonight. If we cannot continue to maintain our infrastructure and put money into those operations, we're just constantly tripping over our feet with your comment about we're charging enough to survive. We're not charging enough to thrive. So that was the basis for all of these increases. There was no point in any of this where we were looking to increase a fee to make money, to create a revenue stream. Currently, these increases were put in place just to get by and put the current budget in place before, so we could have time to go back and really hash all of this out. Does anyone have
Hello?
I've gone through all of this. I mean, Kayla went through this for about 2 hours the other day, so
Well, I'm at the point, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Go on, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I think it's a necessity just to survive. I mean, if people would have done this 30 years ago, we wouldn't have to be fixing all the systems we have. Nobody's ever kept up with the rate structures to be able to support the maintenance on our system, because we make decisions based on emotion, because we're human and we want our people to put us up here to like us and to love us and to continue to vote for us. And at the end of the day, business costs what it costs, and you have to decide, do you want the services or not?
Yeah, but it's tough. I sat with her for 3 hours going over this same thing, and then I said, pull my old bill and see what the new one is going to run. And when she told me, look, I'm working off quarters, and I can't double the price on my washers, because the people that don't have washers are the same people that you're talking about that can't come in and pay their electric bill. They're coming down because I've got a service there that they don't have a washer and dryer at home. So I'm going to take a $3 washer and go up to $6 so I can just cover my cost. No, it's because, and I'm not going up that much, and I can't go up that much, but it's because this board, including myself, didn't do this 10, 15 years ago. We hadn't gone up because we've tried, well, let's say neutral, let's stay neutral, and let's don't raise the taxes, and let's don't do this. Well, we're not raising taxes, but we are. I mean, it's a different kind of tax. We're raising tax on water, sewer, and electricity. And when you're dealing with somebody that you're buying their services, so you can, I mean, we're buying Harnett County water, and it's going to Johnson County, and they're charging us more for it to put it back into Benson.
Is anybody object to what has been put together?
I do want to say one more thing, Ms. Maxine. When you talked about, there should be people to dig into this stuff and catch all these things. At the rate the town has grown, that's one of the big reasons we've kept and put the finance director into this year's budget, is because you're right. We do need more people who their sole focus every day is digging into these things. And currently, there's not that. And so I agree with you in that sentiment, is we need people whose sole job every day is to dig into these details and not have to be split doing multiple other things at the same time. So I just did want to say I do hear that, and I do agree with that sentiment.
So at this point, who would be digging into it then for future? Is it gonna be Kayla?
Digging into it, but the finance director, it will be like, Kayla is the budget officer, budget manager, I guess you could say, so it would be her and the finance director. So right.
We may have to look at some
Right.
of the salaries and stuff.
So,
Slashing some jobs.
in a perfect world, the budget officer
Slice
looks
that.
at the board and the manager and the town's views and points the budget in a direction for the following year. The finance officer's job is ensuring that every day that funding is spent in the most fiscally responsible manner. And that's the person who digs into those daily details.
So up until this year is this is the only time we've not had a finance director, is that right?
Yeah, but I was not just doing finance for several years. I mean,
We've not had a full-time finance director.
you haven't had
Right.
a full-time finance director since I've been here. I've always been doing other stuff.
And at the rate in which the town is growing, I don't know. Yeah, it's a dearly needed position in the current position we're
Well,
in.
let me tell you where I stand at this moment. I'm gonna need to come in, and I'm off now, and sit down and talk with you. And, because I might have to get you to repeat, because you have a tendency of talking a little fast. And I am a slow learner. So I will sit down with you, and I'll probably ask you the same question 2 or 3 times, but I want to answer in an answer that I understand completely, okay?
And that's what I would love, because,
Yeah,
I mean that. I would rather sit down and have everybody 100% understand and explain it any way you need, so that everybody is comfortable with what we're doing.
Okay, I'm gonna take me. I want to understand it.
Let's move on.
Let me ask one question. Do you find a need to meet again next week, specifically for budget, like on the 20th, which we're closed on Wednesday, but do we need to meet just the board and me and Kayla, and so like department heads, y'all can come if you want to, but like I'm not gonna make
If
you.
we're gonna pass this by the end of June, we've got to meet again.
Okay, so can we go ahead and make that establishment in this meeting, Ike? I mean, I know we still have to public notice it, but can we go ahead and say we're gonna have a meeting on the 20th?
Let's talk about when to have a meeting, but you're gonna have to put a notice in the paper of a special call meeting.
Okay.
You're not adjourning
So the
this
20th
meeting
or
at
the
the end
27th?
to a set.
27th, it's already a planned meeting.
It is, but I mean, are y'all gonna?
If we gotta make changes, they gotta have time to make changes before we.
You
can
have
vote.
to have this, the 27th, and then the 28th is technically the last day of a work week in that month, so,
You can't come on the 27th and won't change it.
and won't changes, yeah.
And then we have to implement it
No, you
and get it
can't.
into the system and up and running, and especially the fee schedule changes. Those have to be input into the
Yeah.
system.
Why can't we sit down on the 19th and
Well,
see where you are?
We're
That's
closed
a
on the
holiday and I'm not
19th.
here.
I didn't see that.
That's
Yeah.
Juneteenth, that's a holiday.
It's a holiday.
Town's closed.
So we
There's-
can go ahead
No
and.
other time to do.
The
What was
20th,
the third?
then next Thursday. That
it.
doesn't work.
20th, we gotta be in Smithfield.
Oh,
No, it's not on my calendar,
yeah, it's on mine.
20th.
not all of them.
Well, I mean,
mean, that's-
for me though, what's more important
Yeah.
right now, this budget or
We gotta
the
do
authority
budget.
meeting?
Everything else is in the ditch.
So, I mean, I would say we can probably skip the authority meeting on the 20th and deal with budget. If that would, I mean, if you would be willing to do that.
June the 20th.
June the 20th,
June the 20th. Okay, first day of summer now.
7
You better
o'clock.
get this right.
I'll be there.
I would just say if y'all want any changes, y'all get with them and let them know what they are so they can bring the changes on the 20th so we can put this thing.
Yes.
I mean, that's the.
Now, right now, if we're all well, is everybody here on the 27th?
Hold that thought.
Oh, yeah.
Getting ahead of me.
That's true.
Well, I go to that
I am here
meeting
on
in
the 27th.
Smithfield, and Cassandra can, if she is available, can.
That's right, we don't need you to pass the budget, do we?
No, you can't vote.
Because that last meeting, somebody needs to go to. All right.
Now, you're
So-
gonna try to get with Kayla before the 20th.
So everybody's good with the 20th? And then is everybody going to be here on the 27th?
Yes.
Yes.
The 20th at 7 o'clock? Or do you want to move it up to 6:30? I know that some of y'all are getting off work, so I don't want
What's y'all's work schedule?
No, if you want to do it anytime, I can do it anytime.
What's your work schedule?
Max is in Clinton on Friday.
I'm at home at 5:30 every day. I have to be here by 5:30.
Okay,
I could be here at 6 on the 20th.
it's gonna be tough, but I can make it.
You just have to
Mr.
skip the last
Retirement,
couple of
what
holes
did
of
you
golf.
do?
Look, ain't nothing about
to. Okay,
that.
so we want to do June the 20th at 6 o'clock.
I can be at 6:30, but I'll try.
Well, let's do 6:30.
6:30.
Let's do 6:30.
All right, 6:30 in
got
this
it.
room
Graduated.
on June the 20th. Everybody good with that?
That's right.
Angie, you got that?
Lane graduated.
All right, cool.
I didn't even.
All right, now we can move on.
Thank you.
6:30.
6:30.
All right, now you're gonna move along.
All right, Angie.
Okay, you can take A and B and put together, we found out that we don't have a retention schedule at the State Archives Division. So in order for us to be able to dispose of records once they pass the retention schedule, we have to have the two, schedules approved. So I just need a motion to approve those on time to go into the.
I make a motion that we approve.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Angie again.
They just.
Come on, Jay.
You're not the same.
They are, but they're, we can put it in one motion. Combine them. Yeah.
It's passed.
Okay.
All righty, good evening. Two things here. We're going to look at the contract with the Wooten Company for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. This is for the design services for the plant itself and the construction monitoring. They have a total contract amount, let me get right on through this here, of $2,108,000. This includes engineering survey, bidding and negotiation, geotechnical investigations out at the plant site, from construction administration and observation services. And this is for the liquid train portion of the plant itself. This, right after we start on the new headworks, this is the very next phase of it.
2 million what, Jay?
I'm sorry?
2 million what?
It's not in your packet?
2,108,000.
$2,108,000.
And it'll be, state appropriated funds.
Yeah, this is the ARPA money.
So let me, and I can't remember which contract it is. I think it was that one. My computer died when we killed it. So, I saw in there that we're not making any payments until receipt from state. Is that correct? Is that the right contract?
90 days.
Or 90 days, and then we're getting charged the interest on that. Is that 90 days feasible? Are we ever going to meet that, or are we going to have to start paying the interest on that after that 90 days?
90 days feasible to get it back from the state?
Yes. Because if not, then we're going to be paying interest on the money that we owe them as a penalty for not paying them within 90 days.
What's the turnaround been lately? I know for,
Well, this is, the good news is this is reimbursable money
Yeah.
from the state, so it should be turned around very quickly. Well, very quickly from the state. So I would think 90 days is doable. And the other thing I would point out is that interest clause has been in y'all's contracts for years. We've certainly yet to charge that.
never charged.
Okay, all right. That's the only thing I noticed. I just didn't want this to be one of those things where we're waiting for the millions of dollars to come that's not here yet that we were promised 3 years ago. You know what I mean?
Still be a promise.
That's right.
What I've been, and they'll help with this part of it because it's DEQ, but like, with state, right now we're getting money from the Department of Commerce.
Right.
And I've sent them an invoice, I've been doing invoices on the 15th of every month, sending for reimbursement. And I sent it to them and we got it back within 3 weeks. But now, it's different departments,
Right.
but I think 90 days should be plenty of time.
Okay, that was my only concern.
Okay. The second agreement we're going to review is the
Approve that?
I'm sorry? You got to approve it.
I made the motion, we approve
Oh, my
that,
God.
if you'll take it. I made the motion that we approve the Phase 1 wastewater treatment improvements contract.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right,
Withers Ravenel, this is for the lead line service agreement, inventory project. It's $250,000. We are on the hook for a portion of the money itself. And basically what this is they're going to assist us in developing a lead line inventory. All the lead lines we have in our water system currently right now, and help us to develop that plan, and they'll submit the plan to the state and help us with the next phase of the project, which will be the actual construction activities.
This is not reimbursable money, this is money out of us, right?
So this is grant money also, but we're on the hook for 2% of the loan closing fee, which is, right?
Yes, that's 5,000.
5,000,
But this is something that you have, like, this is one of those things that the state threw on you and said, you gotta do inventory of all your lead lines, and they didn't give you a choice.
Okay.
So,
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve the lead line service line.
I'm sorry?
I'll make a motion we approve.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's been a long evening.
Tell us about it.
Did you make a motion?
I did.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right.
Have a good evening.
Kim Pickett.
This is a project ordinance for the Withers Ravenel contract that you just approved. The total is $255,000, and we have to have this approved also for DWI.
I make a motion, we approve.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ike Parker.
Look how fast we got.
Turn it over to me this late in the evening, man, that's not a good thing. I'll do my best. So, we shouldn't be here long on this. If you recall, in your packet, look, I will say I apologize, and to Angie as well, I appreciate you getting everything pushed out yesterday. This was like Thursday, and getting back to me with our third or fourth round of revisions. Still was getting some attachments and stuff that were not real substantive from them today. It was all hurry up and wait with AT&T. Nothing, we're not saying that to be negative about them, but it was, and I get schedules change, but it was, we got to have this approved. This goes back to like last year, and I was working to get everything in front of you because we had to treat this as a sale of real property, right? Because it's a lease beyond 25 years, including all extensions. So we have to treat it like you were almost selling it, although it is a 35 total year lease with all extensions. We approved that, or this board, I'm sorry, approved that in February on the, I believe it was the 13th of February at your meeting on that night. And then I sent them a draft lease and didn't hear anything for like 2 or 3 months. And then it was, well, we got to have it done like tomorrow. So anyway, that's why it wasn't in your original packet late last week. They were just getting it to me by the end of the week. The lease itself is effectively identical, which is a legal requirement that it be so, to the lease that you have with Verizon. And just to remind you, Verizon already put the corral, the little crown-looking thing at the top of the water tower. This just leases 9 of those posts on that corral to AT&T.
That fill out all of the posts that are on the corral.
I don't
between
think that, I
Verizon
think
and
there's,
AT&T.
were there 12 total, and, is that it? Okay, yeah, I think that's it. Actually, I've got
We're
the
taking this
Verizon
money and
one.
putting it in the tank maintenance
The
fund.
thing that's,
We now have a tank maintenance contract, so it essentially goes to pay that.
the thing we shouldn't do is to let them buy with a 2% increase a year, and we get everybody else's 3%.
Yeah, Verizon's is 2 as well.
Verizon's 2%.
Huh?
Verizon is also 2%.
I looked at the contract, didn't
We
I?
just looked at it.
When
got
did
it.
you change it?
I didn't change it.
You didn't. It was the exact
It's the
contract.
exact, I literally took the Verizon contract, and I'm looking at the Verizon contract sent from Baker and Donaldson, and it's got a 2% increase clause.
Well, we get 3%, I know, from Spectrum.
That's a different thing.
That's a different pool. That's a pool.
Spectrum is poles, and this is corrals on the tower. They're 2 different things.
So we're charging both entities the same thing in rate.
Exact same
and-
rent,
and
exact same increase every year, exact same
I make a
everything.
motion, we approve.
And they paid, I actually have showed how that at one point they got extremely earnest and then didn't hear for a while, and then I guess with legal review, I don't know how that goes. But they've already paid for, if you recall, the compensation that's owed under the Verizon contract. We have to pay Verizon back for any corrals that are used by a subsequent wireless company.
With the AT&T contract.
So
covers that cost.
AT&T's already paid that, and I've been holding on to this for about a month, so.
And how long was this contract, you say?
35 years, including all periods of extension. The original term, I think, is
So
10
longer
years.
than I'm gonna be alive.
Yes.
I make the motion, we approve.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no.
Thank
It's
you.
35 years, but there's only 10 years is solid.
Right, right. We have to include all those extra terms legally to treat it as a sale or not. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's a little more money into the.
Okay, Kim.
All right, June 13th, Sundown in Downtown, Band of Oz. June 17th, summer reading begins. If you haven't seen the schedule that Derek and Matt and Tim have come up with, they have a very, very busy summer for the kids here in Benson. They worked really, really hard. June 19th, we are closed. And then June 21st through the 23rd is the Benson Sing. And that's all I've got.
Will you email that lady that sent that email about events, that schedule?
Yes, we will. Angie, can you do that? The lady that emailed you about more events for the kids, he said. That's all I got.
All right, Ike.
Everybody, appreciate all your help getting the AT&T thing done. That took a year, so not our fault, but yeah, I hope everybody's had a good June so far.
I got some, this is random, but this happened to me twice. I was going south to north on the traffic circle, and somebody was coming west to east, and we got there about the same time. And I've gotten used to watching for this, but I made sure to stop, and they didn't slow down. They went about 35 through the traffic circle and just did a little thing like that. And so that's happened twice when I've been out there. So somebody's gonna get hurt real bad there. Is there any possibility to put like a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit or some number speed limit through the traffic circle?
No, it's a DOT road, so we would have to go through DOT. We could ask, but let me say this. I've had a lot of back and forth with DOT over the last couple of weeks, obviously. One of the things that Alan gave me, he sent me a picture of the fact that if you're going on 301 towards Dunn, you still have a turning lane. And somebody had gotten in the turning lane, and the picture literally was of a vehicle turning left in the middle of the circle trying to go on Main Street. So I sent that to DOT, and I said, there's a lot of confusion here. So I got a response back today that they're actually going to go in and they're going to hash and they're going to kind of fix that a little bit, maybe even do some median work. I'm not sure, but they're definitely going to. I sent it to Addison and I said, I know this has got to be very confusing for people. You're putting in a roundabout, but you have a turning lane, and these two things don't match. So they have been very responsive. And I've told Addison the accidents have actually gotten worse. They've not gotten better. So, but that is something that they're going to fix. We would have to, in regards to speed limit changes, we would have to talk to DOT about that. I mean, I can email again Addison. It's probably going to go to a different person traffic-wise.
What is the speed limit in the traffic circle?
Is it 25, 35? Is it 25 or 25? 25.
Have they been responsive to our request for funding to help pave the side streets?
I have sent them the side streets that staff has given me, and I have not heard back from that.
They're not responsive to that.
But that's a different, it's not Addison though. So, it's like, it's different groups, right? Like traffic, signals, that's Jason. I know I have Jason's cell phone. Like I get quick response from him. I get quick response from Addison. There's some that are not as quick as responding, but yeah. So I can talk, I can ask.
Deal with Addison. I talked to our guy in Rocky Mount, and I told him that the DOT is making excuses for not paying us anything, and I told him he needs to get with the board and get some money to replace this mess that has been made here. This fence torn down and poles torn down, and they owe us some money. And so he's gonna get with the chairman and see what can be done.
Kim, wasn't there were you gonna look into the lighting? Hadn't there been
Yeah.
complaints?
Oh, yeah. So that has also been, we had a complaint about that was on the weekend, that following Monday. Glenn, I talked with Glenn about it. He got with Addison. We've given them a quote. It's run through budgeting right now, so they're going to pay for lights to be installed, and then they'll pay the monthly fee for the lights that are going to be there. So
they'd approved that long ago, didn't they? The lights.
Well, I think we got an update from Addison today that said it's going through budgeting right now.
Easton told me that they were going to do it.
Yeah. So So that was something else, again, that we sent to Addison, and he got to us fairly quickly on.
We're not gonna let them get by.
I just wonder, why is there so much confusion at that roundabout when we have one in, like, I compare it to the one near the Pottery and the one near Campbell. There's none of that confusion. But the one in Benson, because I've sat back this past weekend, of course, you know, my husband brought the way the paths and all was to my attention. He was like, no one of y'all have had accidents there. He said, the pattern makes no sense.
On those small ones.
Right, and the size. He was thinking of it from a standpoint.
Cassandra, we have had 10. We have had 10 accidents so far. I mean, he reported in the paper 4, but we have had 10 accidents, and it's due to signage, lighting, and stupid people.
And
I mean, they come up on Main Street, and they'll turn left. They don't go around the circle. They will turn left. That doesn't cause anything. And then the people that don't know how to do it, they will come and they will yield, and then they'll pull out. But the car behind them, they will stop at every intersection, and they've been hitting them from behind because they're stopping, and that's not where they're turning. They're going to go around and turn in another area. The signage is awful. Whether you like it or not, they did not do what they were supposed to, and DOT is who we need to sit down with and say, look, y'all are responsible for the lighting, y'all are responsible for the signage, and anything else that y'all need to do. People said, oh, they got them at Buies Creek. Yeah. You can't drive over the one at Buies Creek. We've had transfer trucks, and they hadn't hit anybody yet, but they don't even check up.
If you'll, and Carrie, and I don't know, this might be something you want to mention to Addison, the speed is the issue in the size of the circle. People aren't slowing down for it. And I'm not saying Carrie's got it, but like when we have small circles like that, they call it speed calming devices. It's a long speed hump. It makes people slow down before you enter into the circle, or else you're going to go airborne like you do in front of my house on Pine Street. You have something to slow them. You have something to slow them down before they enter that circle, or else they're going to tear something up. And so I call them speed hump. They call it speed calming devices. But that might be something that Addison might want to look at putting in there just to get people to slow down before they make entry. Because right now, I almost got hit on the way here. Because I mean, they didn't check up at all. And I mean, and they're not checking up.
Yeah, and
just do like
That's
that.
exactly right.
And I've lived in Smithfield my whole life, except for when I was at ECU. And that roundabout was not fun when it was first put in either. It was a mess as well. People don't know how to deal with change, and I think that's what we're facing right now. And it's a mini. It's not something that people have seen often. You know, the one in Smithfield at least is a bigger roundabout. The one that's going to be at the bottom of the bridge is going to be a big roundabout. So that's what people are more used to. People don't know how to yield, and that's what they need to learn. I don't know what's the best way to get that message across. Maybe we need to do like a video that says yield to oncoming traffic. I don't know, but any suggestions are welcome because it definitely hasn't been a good situation. I know the fire department and the police department have been very busy out there, but I think it's changed. And I don't know how Raleigh was, but I know Smithfield had a time with it.
They don't understand why it doesn't work. But during the day, every freight train that we have had, you don't go from Dunn to Four Oaks, you don't come across because of the train. But they stop right there, so nobody can go.
Yeah.
I mean, traffic does not move at all because they don't know how to react.
And that was a question that you specifically asked DOT, right? Like, have you ever done one this close to a railroad?
They told us that they own that highway and they would do what they thought was the best thing.
Well, listen, at this point, I want to be like, it's me again, Margaret, and here I go with another request. And that's basically, I've told Addison, like, I'm going to bug you until everything gets fixed. And so I just sent him an email about the speed limit. I'll let you know what he says.
Probably unpopular opinion, other than people don't know how to use it yet, I've enjoyed it because I've not had to sit there no amounts of length of time that I will there was a light. I
So,
go right through there and go into the
this-
office and going home, and it's
See, you're
fast
one-
and
you're
go
one
right
that
through.
don't check up.
I'm not, if I see you checking up, I'm gonna pull out in front of you. I'm just saying, I don't care if you hit my truck, it's already got dents in it.
Well, Angie said the same thing. She goes through it every day.
Right, and I think it's a lot more efficient than the stoplight was. I think people just need to slow down and look left.
Yeah.
And pay attention to what's on your left. Don't worry about what's on your right. Look left.
Yeah.
Dr. Max,
That was him.
you got
I'm
something
good.
else?
I'm good, you gonna get something?
Son,
I'm good.
Will?
What do you got?
Something good. I think the third week in July, this town's gonna be, Parks and Rec's gonna be extremely busy. I think we got the, girls' state championship this year, the Dixie Classic that comes in, so big help.
Tar Heel League.
Tar Heel.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
We do.
and that's it.
William?
The only thing I've got, and I think you're already aware about this, Kim, but I said I would say something, and I think you've already had a road tour around some of the town about some grass and some other issues that we've got going on, and I know that we don't have code enforcement personnel yet, but it's that time of year, and I'm getting phone calls every week.
I know, me too. And let me tell you, that GoGov app is blowing up, but we're sending out letters, and I actually talked to Kayla today and Scott about getting it posted, because we actually have somebody internally that,
Get a high school student that can run a lawnmower and let them start cutting.
well, we want them to cut it, so we don't have to pay for them to cut it.
And we gotta raise our budget again.
We got a
We
lot
don't
of
need-
grass.
We want it-
Exactly right.
but listen, honestly, and this GoGov app, I know people, I mean, if you haven't used it, you don't know, but every day I'm forwarding stuff to Debbie in planning and saying, hey, we got another one. And it's not just grass, it's junk cars. And so people are utilizing it, trash, yeah.
I get it.
And she sent, because I'm signing the letters, she is sending out code enforcement letters as hard as she can. Yeah.
I certainly hope so, because I definitely want one set on
The debris and the.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Hold on. What about, the leaves and debris that's been just lingering around some of these neighborhoods?
So we're right now in GFL spring cleanup. So they should be coming around every Saturday picking that up. The town of Benson has always stopped 2 weeks prior to that from picking up. So GFL has things to pick up and we can focus on other things. So if you're seeing that, it's kind of like how we discussed last weekend. If you see it, just shoot me a text with the address. We'll make sure it gets, we ended up picking up Miss Alfred's.
I figured that, you know why?
Yeah.
Because the person that's down the street from her, that pile was still there. I said, the town of Benson had to get hers.
I made sure they got it that Monday because it had been sitting there. Yeah, of course. And listen,
From her, it's still there.
shoot me a text with the address or have them, I've told y'all, give them my number. We'll handle it. We'll make sure it gets picked up.
One more thing, this is a thank you. I noticed that the parking spaces and the curb were repainted on Market at Railroad when I rode through there the other day. So thank you for that. That has helped the eyesight a lot at that
Welcome.
intersection.
You are welcome.
Whoever did that, thanks for getting it done.
Public
I'll
Works.
entertain another
I'm ready
motion.
to go. I make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Oh, you were.